Chapter 1201 Sacred Temple of Laws. The evil energy all around burrowed into Zhong's body, attempting to suck him dry as well. However, they were all dispelled by the golden battle armor on him. After rising to the peak Type 9 realm, Zhong's combat strength and sense had increased greatly, reaching that of a true god. As an invincible and perfect being, a true god expert could use the same amount of strength to defeat a half-step true god. One of the main reasons was that of the god-type combat sense, allowing the Powerhouse to make the most accurate response. Although Zhong's combat sense had not reached that of a true god expert, he was already able to discern that the river of golden blood could not break through his golden battle armor. The blood is that of true gods. I can make use of the strength within to cultivate my blood manipulation ability. With a thought, Zhong executed the technique, and the blood radiance came out, entering the river. Immediately, the river trembled, and a surge of evil intent blasted out, immediately disintegrating the blood radiance. The long river of golden blood had been formed through countless true gods and had become a strange existence itself. Its strength was even above some true god expert. However, it did not possess an indestructible true god soul, nor the perfect combat sense, and did not grasp laws or principles perfectly. That was why it could not wipe out the powerhouses above in a single move. Even so, it was not something so easily absorbed by Zhong. Seems like the blood manipulation is still some ways off. However, with this much blood, it is truly a treasure trove. I can use my flames to refine them and retrieve the purest power. With a thought, his near-true god combat sense immediately gave him the solution. The god-devil physique and the near-perfect combat sense were just a few of the gifts of being an oracle, which could easily strike fear in experts of the 800 worlds. An oracle with the god-devil imprint would meet the hostility and animosity of various experts, having to deal with their attacks, attempts to devour them, and it was tough to grow and mature. However, if one was able to surpass all this, then the oracle would become a heaven-defying existence. Because of this, all the experts of the various race would want to attack Zhong the moment they found out. Zhong became calm and grabbed a handful of blood and started to burn it. In the process, the strand of will and insidious energy within were immolated away, forming a pure white divine energy entering his body. Such a method of refining the true God's energy was imprinted within Zhong's consciousness, a sort of precious method not everyone knew. After he absorbed that amount of blood, numerous golden axes and swords were formed within the blood, slicing at Zhong. Zhong sat within the river of golden blood, allowing those attacks to slam into his armor, not harming him in the slightest. Instead, he used them to train his physique, causing it to become even stronger. No matter what form the river took, it was unable to tear through the armor on Zhong. A number of high-type 9 corpses also swam out, launching attacks on Zhong, but to no avail. The golden battle armor was truly one of the strongest defense-related treasures. In order to break through it, it would take a true god to act, or a similar grade treasure. Right at this moment, there was an unfathomable intent that transmitted over human. The great Shui man is willing to join forces with you and wipe out those damned races. Please stop destroying my body. They are our common enemy. Let's work together to eliminate them. When Zhong heard those words, he stopped refining the river. After all, he had the same killing intent towards those damned foreign races. Zhong replied, "Hand me all the god blood lotuses on you. I will work with you to wipe out that trash." The will within the river replied swiftly, "Fine." This strange existence, Shui man, that was formed from the blood essence of the true gods, did not lack strength. After all, its body was the blood of true gods, containing boundless strength. The god blood lotuses were items that it could do without, thus, it had no qualms gifting them to Zhong. Soon, there was a pile of god blood lotuses in front of Zhong. He did not hesitate, sweeping them into his universe ring. At the same time, he grabbed a handful to stuff in his mouth. The moment he swallowed them, they turned into a powerful and cooling divine strength, nourishing his body and soul, enhancing him once again. In his joy, he continued to consume another stalk. However, this time, the effects were muted. He could only sense a cooling sensation, but there was not much change to his strength. Zhong looked at the pile of god blood lotus and sighed. What a pity, these items are getting less effective for me. Towards the later stages of evolution, these precious resources would become decreasingly effective the more they were used. Due to this, Zhong's god devil imprint was extremely valuable. As long as Zhong absorbed enough life force, he could break through bottlenecks with no problems. Such a heaven-defying talent was naturally the target of envy and jealousy. Zhong thought for a while before asking, "Schwimman, if I help you get rid of those people, are you able to open the entrance to the 5th level for me?" Schwimman asked, "What's that? Is it this?" As he spoke, there was a bright light, and a pure white door opened out of thin air. "It's open. It's actually open. Go." Seeing the gate opened, every single powerhouse was taken aback before charging straight for the entrance with joy. No one was willing to stay behind and get involved with the river. Zhong was also shocked before his silhouette flickered and dashed out of the river of golden blood, entering the space. They've all left. Bunch of fools that are seeking death. At least, I managed to sift out a decent number here. It should be enough. Seeing everyone disappear, the voice from the river resounded solemnly. The moment Zhong entered the 5th level, he saw numerous floating crystal prisms, each of them engraved with laws and secret techniques. In front of one prism, Jeffrey had one hand on it, while muttering in a trance, "So it was like that. The principle of silk can still evolve. Unbelievable. I was truly a frog in a well. No wonder I could not break through to the true God stage." Other than Jeffrey, many other experts were also frantically finding a crystal prism for their own, absorbing the knowledge greedily, every single one of them in a trance-like state as their bodies emitted powerful fluctuations. Zhong looked at those engrossed in comprehension, and his killing intent billowed. If he took the chance to act now, he could definitely eliminate many Type 9 powerhouses. However, the moment his killing intent soared, there was a message in his mind. This is the sacred temple of laws. No one is to kill here. Offenders will be wiped out. Zhong took a deep breath and swiftly went in front of a fire-based crystal pillar, reaching out to touch it. The moment his hand came in contact with the crystal pillar, he felt a rush of insight in a fire directly swarming his consciousness, increasing his understanding of it. As he absorbed the knowledge, he soon had a similar trance-like expression. So this was the case. I was truly ignorant about the Tao of fire. This is the true crux of it. While everyone was comprehending the laws, a pure atmospheric energy permeated the area, entering everyone, strengthening them continuously. At the same time, there was a strange clock that appeared within this sacred temple, the time needle continuously moving. It's done. I've comprehended the crux of the Tao of fire. I can now refine that damned soul imprint of that true God. After a long period, that no one knew how long they had cultivated for, Zhong suddenly opened his eyes, and he reached out into his consciousness, congealing an avatar shrouded in flames. The indestructible soul imprint encaged within his consciousness also revealed himself. The soul imprint took a look at Zhong and was thoroughly shocked, stammering, "Peak Type 9. How did you evolve so fast? How did you become a Peak Type 9 powerhouse? How could you be so fast?" "You will become my stepping stone." Zhong's eyes narrowed coldly, and he immediately reached out with a fiery palm towards the true God's soul imprint, grabbing him viciously. As the flames danced, the soul imprint began to burn away in the midst of screams. Chapter 12:02 Invincible. After dealing with that soul imprint, the immense and pure soul force was directly absorbed by Zhong, finally allowing him to break through once more. His understanding of the indestructible realm of the soul increased, and he finally reached the half-step true God realm. When he stepped into the realm, An intense amount of energy gushed into his body frantically, as though a huge whirlpool was formed, pushing his strength higher and higher. The time in the sacred temple of laws has ended. The entrance to the 6th level is now open. At this time, a voice resounded within everyone's minds, and the crystal pillars no longer provided any insight into the laws. A pure white spatial door opened up, appearing in thin air. Zhong's eyes flashed open, and he immediately charged through the entrance. The rest of the experts began to open their eyes as well, their bodies flying towards the entrance to the 6th level. After a bright flash of light, Zhong appeared in a grand, white hall. Lights continued to flash, as the numerous Type 9 experts also appeared, looking around warily. Kill the Oracle! The moment Jeffrey appeared in the hall, he roared out with rage, waving his hands to send numerous black devil silk out at Zhong. This time, the might of his silk had increased by more than 3 times. There was the chugging of the golden train that aimed right for Zhong, intending to slam into him viciously. A 60 tall scarlet mantis ghost opened its huge mouth, firing a scarlet beam at Zhong. In just a blink of an eye, over a dozen experts had already channeled their attacks towards Zhong. Courting death. There was a killing intent in his eyes as the holy light wings flapped, and he shot towards Jeffrey in a flash, his fist punching towards the devil mercilessly. Black devil cocoon. Jeffrey's face fell, and his body began to break apart into countless lines, reforming into a huge cocoon. The black devil cocoon was the strongest technique of Jeffrey's, and it could withstand all sorts of attacks. Even if 5 half-step true gods were to surround him, he could hold out for a few minutes. Zhong's palm struck the huge black devil cocoon as the flames blazed all around, burning through and directly striking Jeffrey. With a loud blast, Jeffrey's body was blasted into different pieces, his blood spraying everywhere, while his body parts were incinerated by Zhong's god-devil flames. Even the indestructible soul was burned away as the powerful life force entered Zhong's body. After killing Jeffrey in an instant, the golden train struck Zhong viciously. It was a gold-grade treasure and incredibly resilient. It was able to smash a half-step true god into pieces as well, once it locked on to a target, unless the owner released it. Otherwise, the train would chase all the way till the ends of the world to strike its enemy. Break for me. Facing the incoming golden train, there was a cold glint in Zhong's eyes, and the atmospheric energy surged, slamming into the train. With a loud blast, the golden train that was billowing with steam and shrouded in laws was actually dented in by Zhong's fist before it was sent flying away. Impossible. That's a golden train. How could it be knocked away by a person? He's just a half-step true god. How could he do this? Seeing Zhong's fist slamming the train away, there was a look of shock in the eyes of all the experts present. The golden train had been renowned over a few worlds and had killed a number of half-step true god experts under the control of its owner. Only other gold-grade treasures could withstand it. Yet, Zhong had sent it flying, and it was evident that his strength had already surpassed that of those legendary true god powerhouses. After sending the golden train away, Zhong's cosmic finger came smashing down towards the group of experts. As the image of the cosmos came down, it contained laws and truths of the universe, suppressing the attacks of many of the half-step true gods, directly dispersing them, before the cosmic finger itself also dissipated. Save me. I don't want to die. At the moment when the cosmos disintegrated, Zhong had appeared in front of a half-step true god who was wielding a golden combat blade, directly punching out at him. Immediately, the powerhouse was blasted apart, and the terrifying god-devil flames seared out to incinerate everything, while the expert only had time to let out that one last scream. With that, Zhong's holy light wings then flapped, and he disappeared from the senses of the experts. The next instant, he had appeared beside a half-step true god, punching out once more and incinerating the corpse. Since Zhong reached the half-step true god realm, His god-devil physique was incredibly powerful. A single fist was enough to break apart other same-realm powerhouses. With his god-devil flames taking care of the aftermath, even the souls were not let off, as everything burned. Zhong then reappeared behind the Shadow Devil Lord, grabbing out at him, and channeling his god-devil flames, which shrouded the entire body of the Shadow Devil Lord, burning him away. Under the constant flames, the Shadow Devil Lord let out a miserable scream. "No, don't kill me. I'm willing to submit and work for you. I'm willing to give you all the treasures that I've accumulated. Please, don't kill me. I'm just short of a step from the true God realm." Zhong's eyes flashed coldly, and his god-devil flames burst forth mercilessly. "It's useless. Turn to ash." The Shadow Devil Lord was a powerful ruler-class character, and even the puppet runes would not be able to do anything to them. Thus, Zhong could not control nor subdue them. The only way was to eliminate them. I'm not willing. I'm not willing." In the golden flames, the Shadow Devil Lord continued to scream out in agony before turning into ashes. After he killed the Shadow Devil Lord, Zhong then flickered through the crowd like a specter, while reaping the lives of the powerhouses as though he was the Death Reaper himself. Each time he punched out, an expert would die and be incinerated. Lei Huang stared at the speed Zhong was slaughtering the experts, and his eyes flashed with 1 part joy, 1 part envy, strong. Yin Tian's expression also changed, his heart filled with thankfulness. His improvement is really too fast. Fortunately, we did not do anything to him, otherwise, we would have become his targets. Bulai was also filled with the same sentiments. Yes, that's right. Now, once we can return to the outside world, our human race will become the strongest race. Holy Lord Yuhua saw how Zhong slaughtered those foreign experts as easily as killing chickens and was filled with shock. Terrifying. An oracle is truly a freakish existence. To think he evolved so quickly. Thankfully, I did not offend him. Otherwise, he could just slap me to death. Stop. At this time, there was a roar of rage from the skies, and a terrifying pressure bore down on everybody. True God expert. Zhong could sense the vastness of that energy fluctuations, and with a flash, he shot out from the group of experts, floating in midair as he looked towards the direction where the voice came from. He immediately caught sight of 3 experts of unknown origins, emitting terrifying auras. From each of them, Zhong could sense that they were all at least even stronger than the absolute peak of the half-step true God realm. The leader had a face full of scars and a thick beard, emitting the pressure of a true God warrior. Die human. 1 half-step true God expert below, with the head of a dragon and body of a man, with mantis blades for arms, charged towards Zhong with bloodshot eyes, intending to slash at him. He was already beyond rationality and was only focused on killing Zhong. Stupid trash. You dare disobey my orders. Die. The human expert frowned and pointed out as a terrifying beam shot out, blasting the head of the half-step true God half-dragon, half-man. His head burst apart, and the headless corpse fell to the ground with no further signs of life. Zhong watched the dragon man die, his pupils narrowing strong. This attack of the newcomer had thoroughly dispersed the soul of the dragon man. Even though his body was still present, his soul had already been extinguished. Such a terrifying method. Even Zhong was not capable of it. Chapter 12:03 Tentacular Beast. At this place where all the peak experts of the various worlds were gathered, when they all saw the methods of that human expert, their faces fell and were filled with fear and wariness. A true God expert was practically invincible, with an indestructible soul, and compared to ordinary half-step true God warriors, it was like a moon compared to fireflies. There was simply too wide a gap. 1 true God was enough to wipe out all the people within. The human true God expert swept them all a cold gaze. I'm Harlem, a Type 10 powerhouse. All you crows from now on, you're my troops. If you don't want to die, pick up your weapons and prepare for battle. Come with me. Hearing those words, everyone had a terrible expression as they felt a bad premonition. One of the half-step true gods, a being with a dino head, covered in black scales and sharp blades on his limbs, asked with respect, "Sir Harlem, may I ask where is this place?" "A bunch of fools are trying to escape the cage. This is the 6th level of the Tower of Babel, and it is the last level. It can be said that you guys can go out now. However, this is not some saint land or heaven. In fact, it is a huge battlefield. In order to live, you have to fight on and kill your enemies." Harlem stared at the powerhouses with a look of ridicule. He had also been someone who had believed in the Tower of Babel, thus killing his way over. Who would have thought that by the time he passed through, he had arrived at a hell-like cruel world? Suddenly, his brows furrowed as he turned around and spoke. "They're coming. Make your preparations now. Fight to live. Don't die." On the huge field, all of the powerhouses swept out their divine senses and immediately discovered a bunch of monsters charging towards them, emitting a terrifying aura. Some of them soared to the skies and looked out at the distance. All around them, there were many strange monsters of about 5 m in length, their bodies covered in a black husk, with 8 tentacles around, moving like they were spiders. At various places on their bodies, there were spikes, and their numbers were terrifying. Harlem, who had gotten to the ground, looked up at the experts who had flown to the sky, and shook his head as he sighed, "Bunch of idiots." At that instant, those strange monsters opened their mandibles, filled with countless sharp blades, and fired out blue beams at the skies. Immediately, 6 of the half-step true god experts were struck, 2 of them losing their heads instantly. One had his heart burst, and the remaining 3 were struck someplace else. The 2 experts who had their heads blasted apart directly fell to the ground, devoid of signs of life. As for the one who was struck in the heart, he fell as well, his countenance pale, as he spat out blood. As for the remaining 3 who had been struck elsewhere, they shouted out in shock, "What's going on? How come my body isn't healing? What's going on?" The body of a half-step true god was powerful, capable of regenerating even when they had their heads removed. This was the basis of their confidence and unbridled behavior. However, they had suddenly lost 2 powerhouses instantly, while the rest were unable to heal. It caused the rest to feel a tinge of fear. These monsters are called tentacular beasts. They're the monsters produced by this planet. They're capable of firing out light that could destroy laws, called god-slaying beams. Those who are struck by those god-slaying beams, even if they were true gods, would require at least 2 or 3 days to recover fully. You guys are just half-step true god experts. The moment you're struck, there's no way to recover. Follow me. We'll break out, and when we reach the base, we will find some way to heal you guys. Follow close. I won't stay to wait for any of you." Harlem swept the gaze before turning around and immediately began to leap and move like an agile monkey, not daring to fly into the sky. The other 2 experts who had come with Harlem also followed, swiftly fleeing towards the distance. The experts on the field all exchanged looks and quickly followed. An expert who had a round body and 6 limbs, who hailed from the Taga race, laughed coldly in his heart. "Humph, fools! Our Taga race can communicate with any being and turn them into our friends. Even plants can be made into our friends." With a thought, the Taga race expert radiated brightly and sent out his will towards those tentacular beasts. "How do you do? I'm Tashi from the Taga race. I have no ill intentions. I would like to become friends." Feeling the will of the Taga race expert, the tentacular beasts increased their speed, turning into flashes of light as they pounced towards him. "No, I'm a friend." The Taga race expert could feel the killing intent radiating from those tentacular beasts, and sent out his own tentacles to slap out at the tentacular beasts, trying to retract his will and sever the connections. The eyes of the tentacular beasts shone viciously as they pounced and opened their jaws, biting on the Taga race expert, immediately tearing him apart. A few more also pounced over and began to devour him. "Tashi is finished. Damn it, looks like those beasts cannot be communicated with." Many experts had some bonds with the expert from the Taga race and knew how strong their ability to converse with other species was. Now, that Tashi was killed, this meant that those beasts could not be reasoned with, and if they went over, they would definitely die. All of a sudden, Harlem cussed, "Damn it, we're surrounded." This time's mission of receiving these newcomers is truly not nice to deal with. "You guys prepare, we're going to break through." Zhong swept out with his perception and instantly saw a huge horde of those tentacular beasts crawling towards them, already encircling the group. "I'll bust a route out for everyone." At this time, the expert who was seated in the golden train spoke out. In an instant, the golden train charged out with billowing speed, smashing into those tentacular beasts. The resilient gold-gray treasure was able to cause the tentacular beast that it crashed into to be blasted into pieces as fresh blue blood flowed. Harlem roared out at that time, charging towards the tentacular beasts. "Decent treasure. Everyone, attack. Otherwise, we will die." Harlem wielded a huge golden combat blade that had a 20 long blade radius. Each time he slashed out, a tentacular beast would be sliced in two. "Why so troublesome? Watch me." One icy demoness spoke softly, her eyes gleaming with an iciness as she blew out at those tentacular beasts. Her breath carried laws and principles of ice, assailing the tentacular beasts. Harlem's face fell as he roared out, "Do not use any law-based attacks. These beasts could devour all energy, principle, and laws. Do not even activate your domains. They can continue to feed and grow off your domains. They can also consume spatial laws, so spatial attacks are useless." At this moment, the incoming tentacular beasts opened their sharp mandibles and sucked in, immediately taking in the ice-powered attacks. When they absorbed the attacks, 3 of them immediately grew large and spat back out the icy powers at a Type 9 Powerhouse, who was instantly turned into chunks of ice and broke apart. Seeing this, everyone felt their hearts turn cold. When at the Type 9 realm, half-step true god characters could rely on their spatial powers and wills to attack. In terms of close combat, they were also much stronger than Type 8 experts. However, against these cruel and vicious tentacular beasts, they could not help but enter the fray and engaged in close combat. The tentacular beasts were vicious, that most of the Type 9 powerhouses were feeling fear. Some of them were almost taken out immediately when they charged close enough. Each expert that came in contact with those tentacles would burst apart before being absorbed by those beasts, consumed in front of everyone else. No, Holy Lord Inhi, who had teamed up with Yuhua, had an expression of despair as he screamed out. 3 tentacular beasts pounced towards him, their tentacles smashing into his body and directly blasting his body apart before consuming his flesh. Chapter 1204, Fort of Hope. With Inhi's death, Yuhua's small group only had herself, Tiando, and Bing Feng. Holy Lord Wu Yin had already fallen at the 3rd level, while Yu Zhong had begun to move on his own. Thus, the overall strength of this group had diminished greatly. "Damn beast!" Bing Feng stared at the tentacular beasts and cursed through gritted teeth. Without any law-based attacks, many of the Type 9 powerhouses were not comfortable. After all, they had lived for thousands of years, and to kill their enemies, they just had to point out and use the atmospheric energy to crush them into minced meat. They had neglected their close combat skills for a long time. "I'll kill you!" Bing Feng flashed out, wielding a 10 long ice blade, slashing down at one of the tentacular beasts. When the blade came slicing down on the armor, it caused a loud dang, and a 13 cm deep gash was seen. His ice blade also broke apart. The body of the tentacular beast shuddered, its 8 tentacles slapping towards Bing Feng, Holy Lord. As for Bing Feng, the moment his strike failed, he had immediately retreated backward, dodging that dangerous strike. After dodging that attack, Bing Feng had a look of shock as he stared at it. "That defense is too freaking strong. I can't kill it in a single strike. Damn it, it's supposed to be an ordinary monster." Bing Feng was also, after all, a powerful character and had killed his fair share of monsters. It was the first time he had seen something with such an obscene defense as the tentacular beasts. He finally understood why the true god Harlem would be so cautious of them. It was because they were simply too tough to deal with. Be careful. While Bing Feng was collecting his thoughts, there was a sudden burst of blue light from the horde, striking Bing Feng cleanly on the forehead, blasting his head off. Yu Hua, who had just shouted out, could only stare wide-eyed as Bing Feng was then pounced on and devoured cleanly. Yu Hua used moon-related abilities, augmenting her attacks, and was well known for her techniques. However, now that she was restricted, her abilities were lacking, and could only wave her silver moon whip to hit the tentacular beasts. As her weapon continued to strike the tentacular beasts, they only served to cause loud sound, but not dealing any true damage. Suddenly, 3 tentacular beasts burst forth, charging right at her, as 18 tentacles struck towards her. No! Her face fell, and there was a look of despair on her face. She waved her jade-like hands, causing shields to appear in a bid to defend against those attacks. When the tentacles struck Yu Hua's shield, they easily tore the shields apart, continuing towards her body. During her despair, a silhouette flashed past, grabbing out and blocking the 18 tentacles. Yu Hua opened her eyes to look closely and exclaimed with joy, "Yu Zhong, get up!" Yu Zhong grabbed onto the 18 tentacles, roaring with rage as he tugged forcefully, causing all 3 to fly off the ground and towards him. The holy light wings flapped, and he shot towards them, his fists punching out one. Instantly, that tentacular beast was blasted into many parts, blue blood flowing everywhere. After that, he could sense a powerful amount of life force being absorbed into his body, increasing his strength once more. Feeling energized, Yu Zhong shot into the group of tentacular beasts fearlessly as he punched out one by one, directly killing those beasts. Yu Hua watched in amazement as Yu Zhong tore through the tentacular beasts like it was nothing, her heart full of shock. Strong. He's too strong. Those tentacular beasts were not easy to kill, even with the Type 9 powerhouses giving their all, and yet they could not withstand a single fist from Yu Zhong. His might was apparent. Other than him, many other half-step true god experts had also pulled out their gold-grade weapons, attacking the tentacular beasts. Under the circumstances where laws and domains could not be used, only gold-grade weapons could be used to kill these tentacular beasts. As Harlem fought, he laughed out, "Not bad. Really decent. Seems like there are a few good seedlings here. We should be able to hold out for even longer." Since he was a true god expert, even if he did not turn around to see, he could still assess the surroundings while he fought. He could discern the situation of each small skirmish clearly. With the threat of death looming over them, the experts of the various races began to unleash their potential, forcefully slaughtering hundreds of those beasts that tried to block their way. When they broke out of the encirclement, the group followed Harlem and fled, finally escaping from this region of death. The group continued to flee madly. After running for over 10,000 kilometers, they finally came to a fort. Harlem gazed at the pure white fort, his eyes filled with a complicated gaze as he spoke. "This is the only safe point of gathering for us, and the only safe point in this world." The group stared at the tower, noticing that it was as high as about 100 meters and encompassed a region of over 1,000 SQM. Each space had a cannon. One Ice Demonis asked Harlem, "Sir, didn't you say that laws and energy-based attacks were ineffective against those tentacular beasts? What's the use of so many curtains?" Everyone turned to look at Harlem. He explained, "True, our energy-based attacks have no way of hurting those tentacular beasts, only serving to strengthen them. However, those gold-grade weapons could release devastating blows and can kill those beasts. However, the reason why our powers cannot hurt them is that the concentration of our powers is not enough. As for gold-grade treasures, they're different. They are a condensation of the strength. Thus, those beasts cannot suck anything from the weapons." They all nodded and swiftly came to the bottom of the fort. A number of beams shot out, falling upon them, and directly transporting them into the fort. Inside, there were flora and fauna, with lush green trees, and an artificial sun, radiating brightly upon the land, giving life. A few young men and women from various races gazed at Zhong and the rest curiously. Zhong swept his divine sense out and was shocked. These young people were all at the Type 7 realm above, with no shortage of Type 8 and Type 9 experts. At this time, a goat-head true devil expert with a pair of devil wings walked over. "Harlem, you're back. How's the result this time?" Harlem chuckled. "Chiang, just SOSO, there are 80 half-step true god experts, 43 Type 9 experts. There are also 56 gold-grade treasures and no Type 10 powerhouses." The total number of experts that had entered the Tower of Babel at the start was over 8 billion. Yet, those who truly reached the 6th level were only a total of 123. The rest had fallen along the way. Of the 43 alive Type 9 experts, 8 of them had been at the edge of the Type 7 and Type 8 realm. Having gone through the baptism of the tower, they had swiftly broken through to the Type 9 realm and did not take part in most of the conflicts, thus surviving till now. Chiang frowned slightly. "No Type 10? That's going to be a problem. The tentacular beasts have begun to surround the universe tree. If we don't take care of those nests, then the Fort of Hope would lose its final energy source. We only have about 50 Type 10 experts left. How are we going to tide through this?" Yuhua suddenly asked out. "I ask if you guys can shed some light. Where is this place?" Although everyone had followed Harlem to the fort, they were still filled with doubt and uncertainty towards the 6th level and wanted to know what the situation was. Chiang and Harlem exchanged a look and discussed through their divine senses. Chiang then opened his mouth. "This is the 6th level of the Tower of Babel, and it happens to be a world beyond the Great God World and the 800 worlds. This planet is called the Tentacular Planet, the mother planet of those beasts. Our current location is somewhere an unknown galaxy of the Westwood constellation." Chapter 12:05. Chiang. Chiang had a solemn expression. The world we were in was a huge cage. Everything within, including you and me, are just considered lab tests for the entity called God. Us Type 10 experts might call ourselves true gods, with our indestructible godly souls. However, compared to the real God, we are weak, nothing in fact. He continued, "That entity called God has the strongest gold-grade treasure, basically the number 1 godly weapon, the God Devil system. Nothing within the 800 worlds could escape his attention. He could make use of it to create an entire race and help that race to become an intelligent species within a year. He could also wipe out an entire race in the blink of an eye." When Zhong heard this, his heart sank, and he thought about all that had happened on Earth. In this short year, Earth had truly undergone shocking changes. Zombies, mutant beasts, the Sea Clan, these had all evolved within a year and had gone against the natural laws of evolution. It was truly heaven-defying. He had come across a record of an ancient true god from the books of the holy heavens. In the past, there were many true god experts in holy heavens, and they were all invincible, possessing power that could flip entire worlds. However, none of them could possibly grow or nurture an entire species of intelligent beings within a year. Furthermore, when he thought back to the point when it all changed, his body had been plucked out of time, and everything felt like it was silent. That sort of terrifying strength supported the theory that God even had control over time. Time was a mysterious and terrifying force. It was a law that even the ancient true God experts had no way of comprehending. In a battle between God-class experts, it could take a second for the victor to be clear. That was how terrifying the power of time was. The God-Devil system could actually pause everyone on Earth. That sort of strength was simply too terrifying. Even when Zhong reached the true God level, he would not be remotely close to that level of strength. The Tower of Babel is also another powerful treasure by that entity called God. Through it, many could evolve quickly, reaching the Type 9 realm and transported to this tentacular planet. At the same time, the moment we walk out of the Tower of Babel, we have truly escaped from the 800 worlds. Other than an oracle, the God-Devil system has no hold over us. This place might be true freedom, but it could also be said as another cage that we've landed in. On this tentacular planet, there are too many tentacular beasts to count. What you guys have seen were just the lower-level ones. Among them, there are even the king-class tentacular beasts. There might not be many of them, but every single one of them surpasses a true God expert, and when coupled with the endless horde, we are incapable of taking them on. Zhong continued, "We have lived for over 100,000 years here, and, at the peak of our strength, we had 13 Type 10 experts, over 8,000 Type 9 powerhouses. However, after fighting for so long, we are down to 5 Type 10 experts and barely 500 Type 9 powerhouses." Hearing Qi Yang's words, the faces of everyone who had just arrived turned ashen. If a true God expert were to appear in the Great God World or the rest of the 800 worlds, he or she could become the Overlord and would be immortal. However, to think that 8 of such existences had fallen here in this tentacular planet. They were just Type 9 experts. At the most, they were equivalent to high-quality cannon fodder. Many of them were filled with regret at this point. In the 800 worlds, they were considered lords and had numerous subordinates. Yet in order to break through, they had risked their lives to barge through the Tower of Babel. In the end, after paying such high prices, they had actually come to an even more dangerous region. It was no wonder that they were filled with endless regret. Yu Hua's brows arched as she asked, "Sir Zhong, I see that this Fort of Hope is full of energy and resources. Sir Harlem had also mentioned that this is the absolute safest place. Why we still need to head out and clash with those tentacular beasts? If we stay inside here and train to the Type 10 stage, then head out to slaughter those beasts outside, wouldn't that work?" The Fort of Hope was formed from some technology, filled with abundant qi, which Earth could not even compare to. The only other comparable place was the Tower of Babel itself. Since the party had just gone through the baptism of the tower, they had understood many things and obtained great rewards. If they were to hole up in this Fort of Hope for a few tens of thousands of years, they might break through to the Type 10 realm. A half-step true God expert already had an indestructible soul, and even if they were to cultivate for hundreds and thousands of years, they would not die. Their lifespans were generally over 1,000,000 years. It was because of this that among the numerous worlds, there were a few half-steps true gods who did not enter the Tower of Babel because they could still afford to wait and did not want to risk their lives. Zhong shook his head. Not possible. The energy source of this Fort of Hope comes from the single universe tree on this planet. Every once in a while, the tentacular beasts would gather and nest around the tree. Once they're successful, they would suck and absorb the energy from the tree, becoming stronger and evolving constantly. If we were to lose the universe tree, then this Fort of Hope would lose its strength and lose the ability to protect us. At that time, we would have to fight the tentacular beasts with no safe base. On this treacherous planet, that's basically a death sentence. One ghost race cultivator, who had a ghostly visage and his entire body covered in scales, asked, "Sir Zhong, then, is there any way that will allow us to return to the great God world?" The moment these words came out, everyone looked to Zhong. Having seen the cruelty and harshness of the environment here, many had started to harbor thoughts of returning to the 800 worlds. Once they return, they would become peak experts in their own worlds. Zhong smirked. Yes, according to the rumors at the peak of the universe tree, there's an entrance to the other side of the Tower of Babel. If you pass through that, you should be able to transcend space and head back to the great God world. However, here's a word of reminder. Half-step true gods, as well as true gods, would not be able to use that tunnel. Furthermore, those that use the tunnel would have their memories controlled by the God-Devil system and would forget everything that transpired here. Everyone exchanged looks and finally understood why in the past, each time the Tower of Babel opened, there would be a few fortunate survivors with huge leaps in strength. However, there were no half-step true gods or true gods that returned. Zhong laughed mildly and continued, there's an additional bad news. Once the tentacular beasts destroy the universe tree, there would be a wormhole straight to the great God world, and they can make use of it to enter the great God world, as well as the rest of the 800 worlds. At that time, everything will be destroyed by them. Even if you guys escape back now, it is just prolonging the inevitable. There are about 1 billion tentacular beasts on this planet, because they lack flesh and blood. Thus, they can only maintain such a number. If they could consume more, they would multiply quickly, reaching 5 billion within a year. Hearing this, everyone felt their scalps turn numb. Those tentacular beasts were truly terrifying. If they were to reach 5 billion, then nothing in the great God world or the 800 worlds would be their match. Yu Hua asked curiously, "Sir Qiyong, may I ask where does your information come from?" Qiyong did not reply, instead, turning around to walk, and said, "Come with me." The rest could only follow him towards a palace. Inside the vast palace, there was a gold pillar with spirals going all around. It was embedded with many palm-sized white stones, emitting a sacred and powerful aura. Qiyong looked at it with a complicated gaze. This is a branch of the God-Devil system, the exchange system. We gain our knowledge from here. Qiyong turned to it and spoke indifferently. "Come out, it's me, Qiyong." From within the pillar, there was a flash of golden, sacred light, turning to form a beautiful woman, with long, black hair reaching her waist, her features exquisite, and her proportions following the golden ratio. She smiled gently. "Mr. Qiyong, how do you do? What do you want to exchange this time?" Qiyong pointed to the beauty and spoke indifferently. "This is the sentient program of the God-Devil system. You can think of it as a treasure spirit. With the nuclei obtained from the tentacular beasts, you can exchange all sorts of gold-grade treasures, information, and knowledge. Our information was gained through her." Chapter 1206, God-Devil System AI. The beautiful woman smiled charmingly. "How do you do? I'm the spirit of the God-Devil system, or an AI, so as to speak. Master usually calls me Light. You can exchange tentacular beast nuclei for anything with me, including food, natural treasures, gold-grade treasures, laws and Daos, information, and even cultural knowledge." Light's eyes then flashed, sending beams of black light into the consciousness of everybody present, imprinting the exchange rates on them. "This is the list of exchange rates. Please accept it." In a flash, Zhong understood what he could exchange. There were all sorts of items within the exchange system with uncountable gold-grade treasures. Even the gold battle armor on Zhong could be exchanged. There were even mechs with strength surpassing Type 10 experts. However, depending on the items, the exchange value was different. A gold-grade treasure would usually cost about 100,000 nuclei and above. As for the mech that could surpass Type 10 experts, it required 1,000,000 nuclei or a single king-class nucleus. It was truly precious. Zhong eyed the God-Devil system. His fists clenched tight as he took in a deep breath, and without hesitation, he stepped up to ask, "Light, why did your master make Earth go through those changes?" After the apocalypse, over 1 billion people had died, and the rest had suffered terribly. Along the way, Zhong had seen many tragedies, broken families, betrayals, cannibals, and all sorts of horrendous things. These were all engraved deeply in his mind. As a result, he had become a hardened tyrant and seemed stone-cold at times. But in truth, in the deepest parts of his heart, he had always been furious about the state of matters. It was anger from his conscience as a human being. Light chuckled. "Please pay the price of 1 nucleus." Zhong waved his hand and threw a tentacular beast nucleus at her. When battling those beasts earlier, Zhong had seen Harlem picking up those nuclei. Thus, he took the opportunity to pick up a few as well. When the nucleus touched Light, it disappeared immediately. Light then smiled and spoke slowly but clearly. Master had ordered for the Earth to undergo changes in order to allow the life forms on it to evolve. It would create powerful soldiers and warriors. At the same time, he could gain joy from seeing the growth of humans. "Mister, Zhong, if those things did not happen, you would not have evolved to this stage. Based on your standing at that point in time, your knowledge, character, psychology, and overall health, I can compute your fate. You would have struggled for 20 years, becoming a general manager of a company worth $1.5 million in assets, married to Lu Wan. Both of you would have a son, and you will live to the age of 76 and die. Your friends would become ordinary members of society, without the strength, status, nor power they have now. Now, you're an expert at the peak of the Type 9 realm. According to the classifications of the Great God World, there is something called the half-step true God stage. You're just one step away from the Type 10 realm. Please continue to strive hard. You're looked upon favorably. Within this batch of survivors of the Tower of Babel, there's only Zhong, Lei Huang, Balthazar, Brendan, and Radford with chances of becoming a Type 10 expert within 10,000 years. As for the rest, without fortuitous encounters, it would be impossible. Those who I have called out, please do not be arrogant. These 10,000 estimate refers to the constant battle against the tentacular beasts and exchanging the nuclei with all sorts of evolution resources. If you want to cultivate within the Fort of Hope, then even if you cultivate for 100,000 years, there's no chance of breaking through. Hearing those words from Light, everyone trembled and looked to the 5 of them who were called with gazes of envy and jealousy. As for the 5 experts, other than Zhong, they revealed expressions of joy. They had fought so hard in order to become a Type 10 expert. Now, there was a ray of hope. They were naturally ecstatic. Within the Great God World, even if they cultivated for 100,000 years, they would not be able to reach the true God realm. Zhong suddenly asked, Light, is your master capable of wiping out all the tentacular beasts? 1 nucleus. He immediately threw 1 over. Light replied in a short and precise manner, yes. After a moment, Zhong discovered that Light was not as fluent as earlier and had a strange feeling. Zhong then spoke solemnly. I want to meet your master. What are the requirements? 1 nucleus. Again, he threw 1 over. There was a strange glint in her eyes as she smiled. On this planet, there are 9 tentacular king beasts and 3 tentacular queen beasts. As long as you can take them out, I can take you to meet Master. After that, she sent out a beam of black light to everyone. This is the map containing information on the positions of those powerful beasts that I mentioned. Light laughed. If there are no further questions, I'll be making a move. When you have enough tentacular nuclei, you can summon me once more to conduct exchanges. She then disappeared into motes of light. When she left, there was a hint of fury in Zhong's eyes. To create powerful soldiers, he could easily sacrifice 1 billion lives. Damn it, I'm still too weak. When I've evolved enough, I will make sure to teach that fucker a lesson. Zhong might be at the half-step true God stage, but in front of the expert who had the God-Devil system, he was still too weak. He did not know how strong the other part was, but he knew that even a Type 10 expert was nothing to that fellow. After all, there were plenty of Type 10 mechs, Type 10 mutant beasts and monsters in the exchange system. It was obvious that the owner of the God-Devil system could create such powerful beings. Zhong was still a weakling. Zhong also only dared to show his temper after the AI left. Qiang smiled warmly at everyone. Come, let's all go celebrate the arrival of our new members. Everyone can get to know one another. Haha. The devil race might be selfish and had their own motivations, but Qiang had already become a Type 10 expert and protected the Fort of Hope for so many years. Thus, he had grown past all schemes and selfish ambitions. To him right now, surviving, evolving, and becoming stronger was the only goal to chase after. With powerful allies, they could all survive better. Inside the fort, the Type 9 experts numbered less than 500, but those below that realm were over 1 million. In a vast square, there were many crystal tables, as the hundreds of Type 9 experts sat to enjoy delicious food. Beautiful women of each race were dancing on the stage, to the sound of melodious music, as though it was heaven on earth. At the head of each table, there were 10 seats, of which the 5 great Type 10 experts, as well as the 5 half-step true gods that Light had announced to have the greatest hope of breaking through. The 5 great heads of the fort were Harlem of the human race, Qi-Yang of the evil devil race, Gui Li of the man-eater race, Zhuhua of the beast race, and Lai Yin of the stone race. Yu Zhong and Lei Huang were humans. Thus, they were closer to Harlem and sat near him. Yu Zhong suddenly asked, "Sir Harlem, why is it the people here are so little?" The fort had stood for millions of years, and under such circumstances, it had produced all sorts of life forms. And yet, there were only 1,000,000-odd people. It was mysterious. Harlem put down his wine glass and sighed deeply, a sunken look in his eyes. The people here are restricted by the fort. It can only accommodate 1,110,000 people. If the inhabitants exceed this amount, us Type 10 experts would not be able to absorb the energy and would become weaker. Hence, we can only control the population. There's a rule here that if one does not become a Type 9 expert in 500 years and is not needed by any Type 9 powerhouse, they would be abandoned. When Yu Zhong heard this, his heart shuddered. Abandoned naturally meant given up on and left for dead. After all, the heads of the fort would not allow anyone to leave the fort to become food for the tentacular beasts. It seemed that the Fort of Hope was also a cruel place. Lei Huang downed the contents of his glass and asked, "Sir Harlem, when are we moving out to deal with the nesting problem?" Harlem replied, 7 days. The nesting requires 10 days at least, and the 7th day is usually the most critical period. Most of the strength would be concentrated within the nests, and it is the moment that they were weakest. That's the only chance we have to deal with their nest. Chapter 1207, Universe Tree. After the banquet was over, Yu Zhong came up to the exchange system once more. When he arrived, there was a flash of light, as light materialized and revealed a brilliant smile. "How do you do, Yu Zhong? Or should I say, Oracle? May I ask, what do you intend to exchange for?" Yu Zhong waved his hands, throwing 24 nuclei to her. "I want to exchange for 24 years' worth of time to cultivate, 1 hour for a year." The God-Devil system was beyond any gold-grade treasure, and one of the most important reasons was that it controlled time. In the exchange system, there was the option of exchanging for cultivation time. The exchange rates were as follows: 1 hour, 1 year, or 1 hour, 10 years, and even more. Of course, the stronger the rate, the more nuclei required. Yu Zhong only had a few tentacular nuclei, thus, he only had enough to exchange for 24 years. His speed of improvement had been fast, purely because of his God-Devil imprint. However, because of his speed, he needed time to consolidate and comprehend his laws and Daos. Along the way, Yu Zhong had made use of the God-Devil imprint to evolve, and he could use it to reach the Type 10 realm. However, there are differences even among those in the same realm. Only by going through refining, consolidation of knowledge and information, cultivating diligently, would one become strong. When he was weak, he had always chased after strength. Now, at the peak, what he needed was knowledge and absorbing of information, truly building a solid foundation to become a terrifying godlike being. Light pointed to a number of rooms packed neatly within the palace and said, "Understood, that is the room of time. Once you enter, it will begin. After 24 hours, it will automatically send you out." Yu Zhong walked in immediately and began to sift through all the knowledge he obtained in the Tower of Babel. As he cultivated, he sank in deep and lost track of himself. In a flash, 24 years had gone past. Outside, it had only been a day, and the room of time automatically opened up to send Yu Zhong. When Yu Zhong was sent out, he opened up his eyes slowly, revealing a glint of wisdom. As he came to clarity, he exchanged for a device that could search for tentacular beasts and chose to leave the Fort of Hope, hunting those beasts. He did not head for the nests immediately, instead, choosing to hunt outside the nests. He would conduct sneak attacks and retreat quickly from time to time. On this planet, there were countless beasts roaming about. Only a horde or the king beasts had the ability to kill Zhong. Other than that, the rest of the weaker beasts in smaller groups served to become his prey. After hunting enough beasts, he would return to the Fort of Hope and enter the Room of Time to cultivate. 7 days passed quickly. The Room of Time that Zhong was in opened up, and he walked out slowly, his gaze filled with a deep and profound look. His current understanding was more than 100 times deeper than 7 days before. At the same time, his strength had increased exponentially. Zhong, are you out? Qiang looked at Zhong before his brows arched, and there was a sharp look. Ah, you look somewhat different. Qiang could tell that Zhong had undergone some changes. Before his closed-door cultivation, Zhong had looked like a sharp, unsheathed blade, full of killing intent and strength. However, after the 100 years within the Room of Time, Zhong had become unfathomable even to Qiang. Harlem swept Zhong a look as well, before urging, "Come on, our target are the nests. We don't have time to waste." Everyone was looking to destroy the nests, and every single minute and second was precious. Harlem could not bother about Zhong's training progress. Breaking through to the Type 10 realm from the great circle of the Type 9 realm was not easy, even if one cultivated for 10,000 years. Even if Zhong had improved by a small step, it would likely not affect the battle much. Soon, 5 battleships of over 10,000 m, their frames entirely in white, equipped countless E-grade cannons flew out, heading towards the nests. These 5 E-grade battleships were the true treasures left behind in this Fort of Hope from the numerous generations before. Their speed was terrifying. The moment they opened their throttles, the distance crossed was over 1,000,000 kilometers. They soon appeared about 150 kilometers away from the universe tree. Qiang spoke solemnly. "We've reached." At that instant, the hull contorted and disappeared entirely, allowing the people within to look at the huge universe tree. It stood over 1,000 kilometers tall, reaching past the clouds as though poking straight into the galaxy. It was filled with lush green leaves. Countless green light beams shot out from the ground, flowing along with the universe tree towards the sky. It was extremely beautiful and captivating. Harlem eyed the universe tree and spoke. "This is the universe tree, the divine tree supporting the Fort of Hope. Normally, there are strong self-defense mechanisms, and no living beings can get near. However, every 100 years, there would be a period of weakness. During this period, it is unable to prevent the tentacular beast from absorbing its strength and energy. This is also your only way of heading back to the great God world." Hearing those words, many Type 9 experts became excited, eyeing the universe tree with passion. Those experts who could exit from the Tower of Babel, all of them had attained some incredible benefits. If they could return to the great God world or any of the 800 worlds, they would become peak experts, wielding incredible authority and power. If they remained here, they would just be cannon fodder. Around the universe tree, there were 3 huge holes with unknown depths and countless tentacular beasts crawling all around. Their perception was terrifying, immediately catching the scent of the 5 E-grade battleships a 100-kilometer away. Numerous tentacular beasts began to pour out of the 3 nests, pouncing towards the direction of the 5 E-grade battleships. Outside the nests, the ground rumbled as countless tentacular beasts poured, charging towards their directions. Other than them, there were even some flying types that had dragon-like wings, soaring through the skies. The terrifying horde was heading over. Seeing the numbers coming at them both from land and air, everyone felt a chill in their heart. Lei Huang and the rest finally understood why there would be so many true God experts that had fallen. These tentacular beasts were not ants that could be squashed to death. Even a Type 10 expert would not be able to utilize the atmospheric energy or chi to squash them. Instead, it had to be done through melee combat. If it were in the great God world, a true God expert could wipe out everything in 1,000 kilometers radius, other than Type 9 experts. That was truly terrifying. From afar, those tentacular beasts opened their mandibles, firing blue beams towards the 5 E-grade battleships. The 5 E-grade battleships flashed and opened up their energy shields, withstanding the blue beams. At the same time, the cannons on the ships also began to fire back at the tentacular beasts. Under the barrage of attacks, many tentacular beasts were punched full of holes, and fresh blood dyed the ground. At the same time, a number of silver balls were fired out towards the horde. The moment these silver mechanical balls soared out, they extended to form silver mech beasts with 2 blades at their sides, wings on their backs, and their 4 limbs powerful. The moment those silver mech beasts landed on the ground, they charged straight right for the tentacular beasts, and both sides began to engage in a vicious clash. Soon, the battlefield was filled with broken parts and flesh. These silver mech beasts were all composed of the most advanced nanocells. As long as their smart chips were intact, they could fight on indefinitely. On the ground, it seemed as though the mech beasts had the advantage. However, in terms of numbers, the tentacular beasts held the advantage. From time to time, more beasts would pour out from the nests, tearing the mech beasts apart. The tentacular beasts were truly savage, consuming everything and anything. They could even digest rocks, turning them into energy to survive. It was because of this that they could survive on this cruel and harsh planet. Zhong was solemn. They had already built 3 nests. The 9 king-class beasts and 3 queen beasts are inside. This time, we have to focus our forces on one particular nest and destroy it first. Lie in. I'll leave the command here to you. This is our only chance to focus on the nest. Chapter 12:08 Tentacular King Beast. In the face of the horde of tentacular beasts, the experts were definitely not a match for them. The best strategy was to focus all their strength on destroying a nest. Only then they would have a chance for success. Lai Yin, who was over 4 m tall, his whole body forged from crystal fire jade, nodded. All right, leave it to me. Quickly, all the Type 9 experts equipped their gold-grade armor and weapons and followed the 4 true god experts out of the battleship. Over the countless years, the Fort of Hope had accumulated many gold-grade weapons and equipment. Although in the course of battles, many of them were damaged, they were still of the gold grade. Thus, they were naturally stronger than most of the other equipment that the Type 9 experts had. At that moment, the 5 E-grade battleships focused their fire and shot out at one nest. Those cannons were capable of injuring a true god expert seriously, or even killing one. Thus, the tentacular beasts could not withstand those beams. Under the assault of those 5 beams, everywhere the beam touched was vaporized, and over 1 million tentacular beasts were wiped out in an instant. When the 5 beams slammed into the nest, it blasted apart, as countless flesh and blood splattered out of it. A clear tunnel was carved out from that beam, as though a huge trench had been dug out, revealing the massive nest within. The dense horde of aerial tentacular beasts in the air was also vaporized during the beam, revealing a patch of sky. Zhong looked at the devastation caused and was filled with shock. Those cannons are truly powerful. If it was used on Earth, I'm afraid there would be nothing left of Earth. The density of this tentacular planet was easily more than 100 times that of Earth. Thus, its gravity was also more than 100 times. The cannons of the 5 battleships had been focused and was enough to cause a 100 m deep tear in the ground. The beam had even pierced through the first nest, causing a deep hole. If it was used on Earth, it would likely penetrate through. Zhong hollered once and turned into a flash towards the nest. Charge! Currently, it was the best to storm the first nest, as those tentacular beasts in the way had been eliminated. Otherwise, even a true god expert would find it tough to trudge through the horde. All the experts flashed and headed towards the first nest. They were clear that time was not on their side. The might of the 5 E-grade battleships was powerful, able to blast through an ordinary planet. However, the cooldown time period was long, requiring at least 24 hours before they could fire again. The tentacular beasts could feel the threat and quickly charged towards Zhong and the rest. As they scrambled over towards the first nest, many of them opened their mandibles and fired out blue beams of light at the experts. The number of tentacular beasts was simply too high, their blue beams almost like rain, leaving them no room to dodge or evade. Many of them were struck in their bodies, but under the protection of their gold-grade armor, they were forced one side. The stronger experts immediately stood up and continued to charge towards the nest. The weaker ones, or those who were unfortunate, were bombarded by the numerous blue beams, and their defensive equipment was torn through before finally collapsing and the owners ripped apart, dying in a miserable fashion. Seeing the weaker experts being torn apart by the blue beams, many of the rest felt their hearts turn cold and their expressions of despair. Most of them were equipped with rare and powerful defensive equipment, but it was still hard to withstand those blue beams. They were talented experts out there as well. However, under the circumstances, they were reminded of their weaker days where they had to struggle and fight for survival. After paying the price of a dozen experts, Zhong managed to lead the rest into the first nest. Inside, there were many tentacular beast corpses, their blood and dismembered limbs splattered all over the nest. All right, the nuclei inside the brains are all treasures. Zhong looked at the corpse, and with a thought, he waved his hands, causing their copperses to fly into his universe ring. The heads of these tentacular beasts were incredibly tough. If Zhong wanted to break through them, it would take some strength and time. Under the current circumstances, he could not afford to waste either. Seeing Zhong keep the heads, the rest also quickly scrambled to collect the heads as well. Since all Type 9 powerhouses had some comprehension into spatial laws, they could make use of spatial crystals to form spatial treasures. Unfortunately, their treasures could not compare to Zhong's universe ring. Make your preparations. As they charged in for some distance, Zhong gazed deep into the first nests, and he just uttered that sentence when his face changed and he barked, "Careful! It's a king-class beast." At this time, there was a powerful energy fluctuation as two thick and coarse blue beams shot out from below, slamming into the group. In an instant, 13 of the experts were vaporized together with their equipment. The defense of the gold-grade armors was shocking. However, they also had an upper limit. Obviously, the power of those beams had exceeded the threshold. Seeing this, the rest of the experts felt their scalps go numb. They had finally seen the terror of a king-class beast. It was something not weaker than a true god expert. Chiang's eyes lit up as he roared out and charged, while the rest of the true gods soared deeper in. 2 beams, good chance. One of them is injured. This is the best opportunity we have. Everyone attack with all your might. Everyone was already forced against the wall, hence, they could only grit their teeth and charge further on. They were all peak experts, and in a breath, they had already reached deeper. Deep inside the nest, there was a queen-class beast with a pair of sharp claws, its body length over 10 kilometers, while 3 other king-class beasts stood in front of it, each of them 50 m in size, with a blue crystal armor. They had dragon-like wings, 6 powerful legs, and 8 tentacles, their entire bodies covered in sharp spikes. Currently, one of the king-class beasts had its lower body blasted apart, and it was struggling frantically. The numerous tentacles of the queen-class beast were stuck in the body of the king-class beast, nourishing it and hastening its recovery. With the nourishment, the wounds of the king-class beast was healing at a rapid rate, visible to the naked eye. Inside the nest, other than these 4 great beasts, there were over tens of thousands of tentacular beasts. They were larger than ordinary tentacular beasts, and the moment they saw the experts arriving, they began to attack. Quick! We have to act quickly to wipe them out. Otherwise, when that king-class beast recovers, we will be in trouble. Zhong pulled out a pitch-black statue that was exuding a thick, dark energy. It had 9 demonic dragons engraved on it, and he slashed out on his own body, causing some blood to flow into the gold-grade treasure. Immediately, it lit up, and 9 demonic dragons, containing the strength of the Type 10 realm, flapped their wings, and soared out of the statue, pouncing towards one of the king-class beasts. The tentacular king-class beast was vicious, evading and charging towards one of the demonic dragons, retaliating with its blades, and managed to tear through its body. The moment the demonic dragon was torn apart, it could not reform. Instead, the remnant energy flowed into the bodies of the 8 other dragons, causing them to evolve into stronger beings. At the same time, the tentacles of the king-class beast shot out like projectiles towards the remaining 8 demonic dragons. The 8 dragons opened their jaws and pounced onto the tentacular king-class beast, biting out chunks of bloody flesh, even tearing through a few tentacles in the process. Both sides went all out in a savage and vicious manner. The other king beast flashed and charged through the group, its blades slashing out, and directly tore through 2 experts and their gold-grade armor, before tearing them apart and swallowing them. Chapter 1209. Intense Battle in the Nest. The true god expert of the man-eater race, Gui Li, who was 4 m tall, possessing a single green horn, his entire body covered in green fur, and his visage ferocious and terrifying, had a vicious glint in his eyes before he suddenly transformed. His physique ballooned to a size of over 10 m, similar to the green-tooth ghost that Zhong had come across before. After he transformed, a terrifying aura emitted from him, and in a flash he had appeared in front of the tentacular king-class beast, grabbing one of the tentacles and slammed the beast viciously onto the ground. The beast's true god Zhuhua, who had a true dragon head, his entire body covered in gold dragon scales, his height of about 3 m, and his physique powerful, charged right ahead. He appeared in front of that tentacular beast and grabbed out, ripping one tentacle away. Harlem wielded a might gold bat leaks, looking like a heavenly god as he slashed out at the tentacular king-class beast, his strikes seemingly capable of ripping space apart. The tentacular king-class beast raised one of its blades, slashing back at the gold bat leaks, forcefully parrying that slash. At the same time, the rest of its tentacles shot out towards Gui Li, Zhuhua, and Harlem. The strength of the tentacular king-class beast was not to be underestimated. Its tentacles could even injure a true god expert heavily to the point of death. Gui Li and Zhuhua channeled their strength, slamming out at the tentacles, blasting them apart. Under the frenzied assault of 3 true gods, the tentacular king-class beast continued to shudder and tremble, fresh blood flowing, and it lost all energy to retaliate. Seeing that, everyone's faces fell, their fear towards the king-class beast increasing. They had finally understood how terrifying a king-class beast was. After all, Harlem and the other 2 were true god warriors. They simply had to lift a finger and they could wipe out a Type 9 expert. No one present could hope to take on the combined attacks of these 3 experts. And yet, even when assaulting the weakened king-class beast, they had no way of killing it at one go. One could only imagine the true terror of the beast when it was at its peak. 4 true god experts joining hands to take down 2 tentacular king-class beasts, while the rest of the experts had to deal with the 10,000 over tentacular beasts in the nest. Harlem slashed out at the king-class beast and yelled, "Zhuhua, you go help those fledglings carve out a path. Quickly eliminate that injured king-class beast." Currently, the 3 experts had launched into a flurry of attacks at the tentacular king-class beast, causing it grievous injuries. Zhuhua could pry himself away from the battle to assist the Type 9 powerhouses. Those Type 9 experts were not a match for the 10,000-odd tentacular beasts. Even if they were equipped with gold-grade treasures, they could not hope to withstand the multitude of attacks. The difference in strength was too great. Okay, Zhuhua did not waste any breath, immediately charging towards the tentacular beasts. He channeled his energy, and his claws slashed out with 20 m beams, slicing through the horde of monsters. Within the space, many tentacular beasts fell under the merciless attacks of Zhuhua, their bodies sliced apart and fresh blood flowed. Many of the experts quickly followed after, charging at those tentacular beasts. A number of them had ranged weapons, firing out at the tentacular beasts, tearing them apart. The tentacular beasts were a powerful alien species of the universe, capable of devouring almost anything, including domains, laws, energies, atmospheric chi, spatial energies, etc. Hence, the comprehension that these powerhouses obtained through the Tower of Babel was basically obsolete in the face of these monsters. However, the exchange system had its fair share of powerful equipment that could be effective. The only regret was that their defenses were tough and their regeneration terrifying. It took many hits from those gold-grade treasures just to take one down. The majority of the rest had close combat gold-grade weapons. They could only charge in frantically at the horde, displaying their strongest attacks to kill the beast. A long, gold-grade train of over 100 M appeared, smashing through the horde, slamming into one particular tentacular beast viciously, causing its body to burst apart. After that, the train continued to surge forward, crushing everything in its path, directly turning 20-odd tentacular beasts into meat paste. However, just as it killed about 29 of the beasts, hundreds of tentacles bore down on it, wrapping around that invincible and indestructible item, forcefully holding it in place. The next moment, a dozen tentacular beasts slammed into the gold train, causing it to shudder intensely. At the same, many of the beasts began to slash out viciously. Under those attacks, the gold train that had been invincible and indestructible throughout the 800 worlds finally had a number of dangerous cracks. The owner was shocked and hastily channeled his treasure, causing it to billow with more steam as it tried to shake off the tentacular beasts. However, the tentacles were too numerous, and regardless of how the gold train struggled, it had no way of extracting itself. The gold train needed time to accelerate for its speed and destructive power to be most effective. Once it was impeded by the tentacles, its strength would be reduced greatly. Furthermore, these tentacular beasts were much more powerful than those outside. Even true god experts would find it hard to escape from these beasts. As it was on the verge of breaking apart, Zhong appeared like a specter among the horde, punching out at one of the beasts, instantly turning it into meat paste. Before the rest of the beasts could react, Zhong punched out continuously, slamming more of them into the ground before jumping on the train. He roared out, "Head towards the injured king-class beast. Go! I will protect all of you." Before this, as they all gone through the Tower of Babel, Zhong had great enmity with the owner of this gold train. However, under the current circumstances, they could only join forces. A clear voice sounded from within, "All right." At the same time, the owner pulled out a gold seed that he had obtained from the Tower of Babel, throwing it at the damaged gold train. The seed emitted a powerful radiance, enveloping the train, and the damages began to repair at a visible rate. At the same time, the speed of the train picked up, and it smashed into the injured tentacular king-class beast. Along the way, hundreds of tentacles continued to writhe around, trying to constrict the train. Zhong stood on the train, wielding a gold-grade flame battle blade, slashing out at the tentacles, slicing them up. More tentacular beasts lunged towards the train viciously. Zhong ran along the train, slashing out continuously without a break, easily killing the numerous tentacular beasts. The other beasts far away felt the threat to their king, and quickly opened up their mandibles, firing out blue beams at the train. The train radiated brightly, activating its gold-grade shield, forcefully blocking the beams. The train was a gold-grade treasure after all, and its defenses were astonishing. Its shield had negated most of the beams. Only the bladed limbs of the beast could damage the shield and its body. The train continued to chug and smash forward mercilessly, bashing through numerous beasts, while Zhong stood on top, wielding his flame battle blade to take care of those that got too close. In a few breaths, the gold train continued on its track, smashing into the tentacular king-class beast that only had its upper body intact. With a loud blast, The heavily injured beast was slammed to one side, the connections and tentacles filled with nourishment ripped apart. The body of the king-class beast bled out a little, but other than that, there were no other visible injuries. At that moment, the beast had finally regained a slight amount of its strength. It let out a weak roar of rage, one tentacle smashing towards the gold train. With a loud blast, the gold train was smashed and destroyed, half of its carriage entirely devastated. The rest of it was sent soaring back towards the horde of tentacular beasts. Chapter 12:10 Killing the King Beast. Taking the opportunity when the king-class beast was distracted by the gold train, Zhong's holy light wings burst open, as he turned into a flash of light and charged right beside the beast. He then slashed down with all his might, the flame battle blade burning brightly. The blade sliced down, as though meeting an incredibly tough wall, and barely got past the first layer. In a rage, Zhong roared out, his body tensing up, every single cell bursting forth with power. His strength reached 100-fold as he shouted, "Fusion Slash!" At that moment, the flame battle blade seemed to burst forth with terrifying might, causing the carapace of the king-class beast to burst open, fresh blood splattering everywhere. This particular move that used the potential of the cells within Zhong's body to burst forth with strength was a secret move he comprehended in the 100-year close cultivation. It was only possible with his god-devil physique. Had he tried to use this move at the Type 8 realm, his body would have burst apart. Even at the half-step true god realm, this move was extremely consuming, and it could only be utilized once, not in a prolonged state. The blade sliced through the body of the king-class beast. However, it did not die, instead, letting out a piercing shriek. A tentacle shot out, aiming to strike Zhong viciously. The blade flashed once more, as his cells burst forth once more with their potential, and in a brilliant gleam of light, the tentacle was sliced off and dropped to the ground. After slicing through the tentacle, the holy light wings flapped, and Zhong speed soared, charging towards the head of the king-class beast. He then burst forth once more with the fusion slash, attacking the head. Following a miserable scream of agony, the head was torn apart, and the brain inside was incinerated, turning into ash rapidly before the beast died. With the death of the king-class beast, there was a thick and abundant mysterious energy that entered Zhong, filled with truths of the universe, not only nourishing him with life force, but also a part of the energies, truths, principles, and even spatial laws that the king-class beast had obtained. After he absorbed the life force, Zhong had a flash of insight, obtaining some conjectures about the Tower of Babel, as well as the tentacular planet itself. So it was like this: the bodies of these tentacular beasts are truly amazing. There are some similarities between my god-devil physique, god-devil imprint, and these beasts. It was likely that the owner of the system had researched on the physiques of these beasts to create the god-devil physique. The ability to absorb everything of the imprint is similar to these beasts' abilities to consume everything as well. The difference is that the direction of the god-devil imprint is for humans to evolve, absorbing the purest life force, while these tentacular beasts absorbed all sorts of energies to fight and nourish themselves. From the perspective of an evolution standpoint, the god-devil imprint definitely has an advantage, but from a combat perspective, the tentacular beasts are stronger. As long as I absorb enough king-class beasts, I can combine the best of both worlds and become even stronger. Qiang was still holding off the other tentacular king-class beast, and when he saw what happened over at Zhong's end, he was filled with shock. What? He actually killed that tentacular king-class beast. Isn't this Zhong too overpowered? Even if he is an oracle, killing a king-class by himself is just too heaven-defying. The past few oracles that I've seen were also dragons amongst men, but they cannot compare to him. Harlem had a similar look of shock. That's crazy. This fellow is just at the great circle of the Type 9 realm, and yet he had already surpassed us Type 10 experts. It's the first time seeing such a terrifying existence. The Tentacular King-class beast was a Type 10 life form. At its peak, a single beast could take on 2 Type 10 experts and not be at a disadvantage. This time, even if the strength within the nest had been affected, it was still incredibly vicious and could suppress Qi-Yang. With such a powerful beast, even if it were injured, it was difficult for a Type 9 powerhouse to be able to injure it with gold-grade equipment, much less kill one. And yet, Zhong was able to do so, causing everyone to be shocked. After Zhong killed the Tentacular King-class beast, the numerous tentacular beasts became enraged, roaring out and surging forth with even more fervor, pouncing towards Zhong. The rest of the beasts at a distance had also discarded their targets, opening their mouths to fire out blue beams at Zhong. The holy light wings on Zhong's back flashed, and he transformed into a beam of light as he pounced towards the Queen-class beast. In a breath, he had appeared on top of it, his cells transforming once more as he slashed down viciously at its head. That strike was able to cause a deep gash, as large amounts of blood began to pour out. The head alone of the Tentacular Queen-class beast was over a few hundred meters in length. Thus, Zhong's attack could only cause a deep gash and not kill it in a single strike. Even so, the Queen-class beast let out an agonized shriek. It was an egg-producing machine, the core and nucleus of the tentacular beasts. However, its combat abilities were not particularly strong, although its defenses were something to behold. At that instant, the tentacular beast charged towards Zhong frantically. The King-class beast engaged in battle, with Qi-Yang quickly turned and dashed towards Zhong, while holding up its torn-off flesh due to those demonic dragons. The other tentacular King-class beast that was held by the other 2 true gods was immobilized. Zhong knew his time was little, thus his cells continued to transform, his flame battle blade slashing down repeatedly. As he was slashing out viciously, the head of the Queen class was torn through, its blood flowing profusely. After barely a second, Zhong had already destroyed the head and retrieved the nucleus within. After eliminating the Queen-class beast, a thick life force thrice that of the King-class beast surged through Zhong. After he fully absorbed that mysterious and powerful energy, his body began to strengthen once more, evolving towards an even more perfect state. Having cultivated over 100 years within the Room of Time, Zhong had obtained all sorts of knowledge and understood the techniques to transform his body. He had also truly grasped the miraculous properties of his god-devil physique. It was because of this that he could help his body achieve the next step in evolution quickly. At the moment that Zhong slaughtered the Queen-class beast, the King-class beast had arrived in front of Zhong, slashing out savagely. The same instant, Zhong turned around, his flame battle blade searing as it met the King-class beast's strike. With a loud explosion, Zhong was sent flying back a few meters, but he deftly leaped into the tentacular beast horde and took out more of them. He blocked it. He actually blocked the attack of a king class. That's terrifying. He's obviously not at the true god realm yet. How could he do it? Seeing Zhong block the strike, many of the experts were all taken aback, their faces filled with disbelief. The all-out attack of the king-class beast could even surpass that of Harlem and the other Type 10 experts. To think that Zhong could actually block it meant that his combat ability had even surpassed that of Harlem and the rest. At the moment of the Queen-class beast's death, its abdomen burst apart as countless fist-sized tentacular beasts crawled out, escaping through countless channels. They were not yet matured, but as long as one got out, it was possible for one of them to evolve into another Queen-class beast. At the same time, the nest began to break apart as a bright green energy shot towards the sky, radiating outwards. When Qi-Yang saw this, he shouted, "Flee! Once a Queen-class beast dies, the entire nest will collapse. The King-class beasts of the other 2 nests will come over quickly to provide reinforcements. We have to evacuate now." Chapter 12:11 desperate situation. The moment he finished, he had quickly fled towards the exit. Harlem and the rest also quickly turned around, fleeing frantically. The tentacular king-class beasts all grew under extreme circumstances, each of them possessing capabilities well beyond Qi and the rest. Since this nest was destroyed, the surrounding king-class beasts would definitely rush over to provide reinforcements. If they all stayed here, everyone would die without a doubt. Qi and the rest had already suffered some losses against the king-class beasts, and a few of their true god comrades in the past had fallen under the siege of those beasts. That sort of despair and the hopeless situation was not something they wanted to relive. The moment the true gods turned to flee, the rest of the powerhouses quickly followed after. The rest of the tentacular beasts and the king-class beast did not even bother about them. Instead, they turned to charge at Zhong. A bunch of bastards. Zhong stared at the incoming horde, his expression turning ugly. His holy light wings flapped once, and while wielding his flame battle blade, he quickly soared out. The beasts all tried to pounce towards him, their sharp blades slashing out, while their tentacles formed dense nets in a bid to impede Zhong. Zhong waved the blade, slashing out at the numerous tentacular beasts, turning them into slices while he continued to charge out in frenzy. After absorbing the life force of the queen-class beast, Zhong's combat strength had already exceeded that of a true god powerhouse. He continued to swing his flame battle blade away, carving out a path through slaughter. As he flew out of the horde, one of the king-class beasts, which had been heavily injured, slashed out at him with a flash of its bladed limb. In response, Zhong swung his blade viciously, attacking the bladed limb, and his strength burst out in a terrifying fashion. The resulting force from the collision forced Zhong backward from the horde. Within a breath, countless beasts pounced towards Zhong, their sharp blades aiming for his face. Their blades were sharp and numerous. Even the gold battle armor would not be able to resist that sort of damage. In midair, the wings on Zhong's back flapped, and he twisted to evade many of the beasts, slashing out with his flame battle blade, taking out many of them. The king-class beast continued to chase after Zhong in a frenzy. Each time he tried to escape from the horde, the beast would send out its tentacles to slap Zhong back into the horde. The other king-class beast continued to lay on the ground silently, slowly extracting some blue light from the ground, its strength recovering to a terrifying extent. Each king-class beast could take on two true god experts like Qi at its peak strength. This time, they had been casting their nests, hence the drop in strength. That was how the true gods could suppress these king-class beasts. The moment they recovered their strength, it would spell Zhong's doom. Zhong continued to slaughter the tentacular beasts, absorbing the life force. However, he was expending much of his stamina and strength every passing second. If this went on, he would definitely fall. Save me. Right at this time, there was an urgent plea for help within the horde. That is, the gold train. It was still intact. Zhong swept out with his sense and discovered the golden train still struggling inside the horde. With a flicker, he charged towards its position, slicing up any beast standing in his way. In a few breaths, he had appeared in front of the train, which had been battered to a pathetic state. There were only 3 carriages left, and its length was now reduced to about 50 m. Many of the tentacular beasts were holding it down with their tentacles, slashing down with their bladed limbs, damaging the train. Zhong transformed into a beam as he slaughtered the beasts nearby. He then leaped on top of it and roared out, "Charge now!" Good. The gold train blew steam, and the track appeared once more as it charged forwards frantically. Zhong continued to slash out in a frenzy, killing any tentacular beast that got too near. The king-class beast that had been harassing Zhong arrived in front of him, slicing down with its blades, its tentacles also shooting out to hit him. At that instant, Zhong's cells transformed once more, his strength bursting out as he charged forward and slashed out viciously at the tentacular king-class beast. His strength burst out Adding on the intense force of the gold train, both joined together, allowing him to exceed the strength of the tentacular king-class beast, forcing the beast to fly away. Zhong was also knocked back, striking the train hard due to the recoil, causing the gold train to shudder slightly. The gold train took the chance to push its speed and shot out of the nest. About 500 m away, one king-class beast rushed over, slashing down viciously at the train. Forcing down the turmoil within his body, Zhong ignited his cells once more, and the blade in his hands flashed out, slicing out at the blade of the king-class beast. With a loud blast, Zhong was sent flying once more due to insufficient strength as he slammed into the train once more, spitting out a mouthful of blood. The capabilities of the king-class beast was extremely terrifying. Two of the tentacles shot forward, directly slamming into the gold train, causing even more damage while sending it back towards the nest. At the entrance of the nest, there were countless tentacular beasts swarming all over the place, sealing it shut. Within the gold train, there was a fearful shout. The reinforcements have arrived. What do we do, Zhong? Zhong swept out with his sense, only to see numerous tentacular beasts all gathered outside the entrance. Only the nest that was spitting the green lights did not have any beasts. He immediately made the decision. Head towards that other nest. It could be our only chance. All right. The owner of the gold train was a decisive fellow as well, quickly urging his treasure towards the new direction. The tentacular beasts within the nest rushed towards them frantically in a bid to slam into the gold train. Zhong stood on top of the train, slashing out at the numerous tentacles. At that instant, the gold train had charged towards the cave that was emitting green light. That same moment, the king-class beast that had been absorbing energy let out an earth-shaking roar as 8 tentacles shot out like lightning. 2 of them wrapped around the gold train, forcefully bringing it to a halt. The other 6 tentacles slammed towards Zhong with lightning speed. Initially, all 8 tentacles had been broken. However, after absorbing enough strength, it released it out into 8 tentacles. The regeneration ability of the tentacular king-class beast was extremely terrifying, surpassing even true god experts. However, the true gods had indestructible souls. As long as their enemies were not these tentacular beasts, they could flee with just their nascent souls alone before resurrecting. Abandon the train and flee. Zhong roared out in anger, his body transforming once more, as the flame battle blade blasted out, slicing out at the tentacles of the king-class beast. Zhong made use of rebound to send himself towards the green cave. At the same time, a small figure charged out from the gold train, rushing towards the green cave. Currently, the entire nest was crawling with tentacular beasts, and this green cave was their only chance. Seeing Zhong charge through the green cave, the rest of the tentacular beasts quickly surrounded the place, but they just gathered and did not dare to enter, as though afraid of something. The recovered king-class beast let out another furious shriek, the horrifying sounds reverberating through the region. On the other side, Qiyang and the rest had been slaughtering their way out after abandoning Zhong and the others, arriving outside of the nest. Ha ha ha! Universe Tree! I've been waiting for this day for so many years. At this time, a golden light shot towards the sky, rushing up the universe tree like a meteor, aiming for the top. Chapter 12:12. The Ancient, Strongest Type 10 Powerhouse. Eyeing the giant universe tree, those Type 9 experts that had not reached the half-step true God realm was full of joy. The great God world. We can make use of the tree to return to the great God world. With this thought, many of them could not wait any longer and charged up the tree in a frenzy. Qiyang stared at the fleeing Type 9 powerhouses, laughing coldly. Bunch of fools. Let's go. Harlem and the rest eyed the leaving Type 9 powerhouses with cold looks, as they also turned to flee towards the 5 E-grade battleships. Those who had reached the half-step Great God Realm were helpless and could only follow Harlem and the rest. They had obtained their own information through the exchange system, clarifying that whatever Qi and the rest spoke of, and they were indeed unable to make use of the same passage to return. Under the cover of the 5 E-grade battleships, the rest swiftly soared back into the battleships. On the other side, after losing the suppressing fire, countless tentacular beasts poured out from the 2 nests. The moment they rushed out, they quickly pounced towards the Type 9 experts. "Save us! Help! Help me!" A number of screams of despair rang out from within the horde, as the Type 9 experts were all torn apart by the beasts, their gold-grade treasures not helping in the slightest. Without the true God experts to hold the fort, the Type 9 experts were met with a mishap and quickly perished. Bulai saw the struggling experts, his eyes flashing with unwillingness. "Sir Harlem, why don't we go and save them? If we act now, we should be able to rescue a few." Harlem replied, with a cold look, "Since they want to go, we will not keep them. If they can break through, it is their own capabilities. If not, it's their fate. There's a limit to our strength, and we cannot keep helping them. If you want to, go by yourself then." Bulai noticed that most of the powerhouses present did not share his views. Instead, they had a look of schadenfreude. He thus kept silent. The fact that the Type 9 powerhouses were not willing to stay on to fight caused dissatisfaction among most of the half-step True God experts. They were expressing their unhappiness through this episode. Without the support of the 5 E-grade battleships, it was unlikely that many of them could make it past the beast horde. It was because of this that the number of survivors that returned from the Tower of Babel each time was minimal. However, those who did come back had obtained countless treasures and had huge leaps in their strength. The numbers of the tentacular beasts were in the millions, and the dozens of Type 9 experts struggled for barely a while before falling. Only the golden glint charged close to the peak of the universe tree. Thousands of tentacular beasts lunged for that golden beam. "Trash! Die!" There was a roar of rage as a number of golden bones shot out, piercing the heads of the beasts and accurately destroyed them. The golden silhouette continued to run, the golden bones blasting out at the heads of the tentacular beasts, tearing them apart, while it continued towards the tree. On the 5 E-grade battleships, everyone watched this with shocked look. Qiang gazed at that beam, his eyes filled with disbelief. "Strong. That fellow's combat strength should be above the Type 9 realm. However, it's not quite at the Type 10 realm. Strangely, he's only at the peak of the Type 9 realm. What's going on? Harlem, didn't you receive all those who ascended?" Harlem also frowned, revealing a pondering expression. "No. That day, I did bring everyone back. Those who did not make it have been confirmed to be corpses, their souls also devoured by the tentacular beasts." All of a sudden, one half-step True God expert shouted out, "That's Amano. He's the golden giant God Guardian we came across at the 3rd level. Amano. He did not die. Impossible. He shouldn't be alive. Amano, golden giant God? That's not right. Amano is an expert from the bone-consuming ghost race. How did it become like this?" Hearing Amano's name, the 5 True God warriors were taken aback as they began to discuss, and the atmosphere instantly became tense. At this point, one evil devil expert at the half-step True Devil realm asked curiously, "Sir Qiang, who is Amano exactly?" Qiang fell silent before sighing, "A long time ago, Amano was our leader. He led us against the tentacular beasts. At that time, we trusted him a lot and killed many beasts. However, after 1,000 years, he suddenly schemed to kill all of us, intending to consume us to break through. The bone-consuming ghost race has a special ability. The consumption of bones would hasten evolution. If he could digest us, he would reach an even higher state. We discovered his ploy, and all the Type 10 experts surrounded to attack him. In the end, 6 of us fell in order to kill him." At this point, everyone was filled with a chill. The peak strength of Amano was truly shocking. He had taken out 6 other Type 10 experts before he perished. He was truly heaven-defying. After all, Even the peak-strength Tentacular King-class beast could only suppress 2 true gods. They were not Amano's match. Lion stared at the beam and frowned. If that fellow truly is Amano, what is he intending to do? A true god expert could not pass through the universe tree. Zhong had a look of wisdom as he came up with a conjecture. Simple. That fellow should be something that was cultivated by the strand of Amano's indestructible soul. He should be suppressing his realm in order to head back to the great god world to lord over everything. Once he returns to the great god world, he would invincible, and no one can resist him. Harlem asked solemnly, should we stop him? If we do it now, it's possible to crush his hopes. Zhong spoke, why should we? Once he leaves the Tentacular planet, he will have nothing to do with us. Even if he is invincible in the great god world, what does that have to do with us? Even if he tries the Tower of Babel again, who knows how far in the future that would be? By that time, we might not even be alive any longer. Forcefully keeping him here would just breed another strong enemy. As a devil, Zhong's thoughts were usually more self-motivated. In the Fort of Hope, he was nice to Zhong and the rest because there was value in them. Once the value was used up, he would not waste time or energy to bother. Hearing those words, everyone fell silent. Lei Huang and the rest wanted to stop Amano, but they had no way of doing so and could only watch wide-eyed as Amano charged through the peak, making use of the spatial transfer to disappear from this world. Zhong spoke, let's go. Once the first nest is destroyed, the energy will be at an imbalance. The rest of the nests would crumble after. We can return to the Fort of Hope. Under his orders, the 5 E-grade battleships immediately turned around, heading towards the fort. With the numerous tentacular beasts, even the proclaimed strongest Type 10 Powerhouse Amano had not been able to stop them at that time. Zhong and the rest were definitely not a match as well. Their aim was to destroy the nests and obtain room for a breather. Soon, in the void space of the great god world, a huge hole appeared as the golden giant frame of Amano stepped through, descending upon the plain. I'm back. I'm back from the Tower of Babel. Haha, from today on, I'll be unstoppable on the path to being a true god. I'll be invincible throughout the heavens and earth. After descending, Amano laughed out loud. However, he swept his right hand to gaze and noticed a map. This is... Amano stared at the map with no recollection. However, after moments of hesitation, he tore through space and stepped in the spatial hole. He arrived at a mysterious group of caves, and within them, there was a strange altar. On top of it, there was a black rock. The moment he stepped into the caves, the black rock shot up and into his sea of consciousness. In an instant, countless memories flowed through his brain. This was his memory capsule, carrying all of his memories, and was one of his backup plans. At his peak, he had been capable of countless techniques and was incredibly strong. When the rest had joined forces to take him down, he had set aside countless backup plans, and this was one of them. Chapter 12-13, Catastrophe of the Great God World. When Amano was done absorbing the memories, he came to a complete understanding. So this was the case. I had already reached the true God stage. It was only because I was killed once and my memories tempered with by the system that I forgot everything. However, once I've absorbed enough strength, I will be able to break through once more, reaching the true God realm. The current Amano was formed from a strand of his indestructible soul, which would not be easily extinguished. As long as a single strand still exists, there would be a chance for a revival. However, even if there was a strand of soul left, in order to reach the peak of prowess once more, it would take a long time of accumulation of strength and energy. As long as the remnant soul of a true god has enough time, it would not be a problem to reach the half-step true god stage once more. However, the bottleneck to cross the true god realm, even for someone who had reached it before. Amano was one of the most terrifying characters among the true gods, far surpassing the rest of his peers. When he was taken down, he had already left so many backdoors for himself, just so he could reach the peak once more. Now, let's break the half-step true God bottleneck. There was a glint in his eyes as he suddenly let out a huge roar, and a terrifying surge of strength blasted outwards. His aura then rose rapidly, swiftly breaking through to the half-step true God realm and continued to strengthen. It only came to a stop when he was right at the peak of the half-step true God realm. A savage look appeared on his face as he muttered ferociously, "Seems like this is the maximum right now. I need more flesh and bones to help my breakthrough. As long as I've not reached the true God stage, even if I massacre all 800 worlds, I would not be forced out by the God-Devil system. This time, I must wipe the whole place clean, turning them all in my nourishment. At the point when I break through, I will leap beyond the true God realm and truly escape the grasp of the system." In ancient times, Amano had been the top expert among those at the true God realm. He had also come in contact with the absolute threshold of the true God realm. The year, as long as he took that one step, he had the possibility of breaking through, exceeding a true God powerhouse. It was because of that higher realm that enticed him so much, pushing him beyond the edge, causing him to betray his comrades, and was forcibly killed by them. There seems to be delicious food over there. His divine sense swept out, and a savage look appeared. He tore through space and stepped right into the void. About 3,000 li to the east, there was a huge mountain range, and a half-step true God double-armed dragon was currently sleeping. All of a sudden, there was a spatial fluctuation in front of it as Amano stepped through. The black double-armed dragon took a look at Amano with a hint of viciousness as it growled, "Scram. Get out of here now. The great Dozere is in a good mood and will not take offense. Otherwise, I will definitely tear you apart. My mood is good today, seeing you such a delicious prey. My appetite is truly aroused. After eating you and all of the mutant beasts in this mountain range, my power is sure to rise once more." Amano gazed at Dozere condescendingly before laughing and grabbed out at him. A powerful hand appeared out of midair and reached for the black WIRM dragon. "Audacious! You dare offend the great Dozere. You shall pay with your life." The black WIRM dragon roared out and transformed into a true dragon, soaring into the sky, congealing its own dragon claw to slam into the hand in the skies. This particular black WIRM dragon was already capable of transforming its entire body into that of a true dragon, leaving only its eyes. Once its eyes also completed the transformation, it could step through and reach the Type 10 stage. Among the numerous experts of the great god world, it was already considered a peak existence. When both hands came in contact, Amano's hand that was capable of blotting out the sky directly crushed the dragon claw before grabbing the black dragon in one swift motion. Dozere struggled within the energy palm, its face full of shock as it roared, "How is this possible? How could you defeat me so easily? Who the hell are you? Huh? Remember this. The one who consumes you is me, Amano." Amano roared with savage laughter as his mouth opened wide and clamped down viciously on the body of Dozere, directly crushing his head. In a few breaths, he had devoured the whole of Dozere cleanly. After that, he swept out with his divine sense and got the entire situation of the mountain range within his perception. "So much delicious food. Seems like I can eat my fill." Amano laughed out savagely and flew above the mountain range. He then opened his mouth and started to suck, becoming a huge 100 wide black hole. In a flash, the thousands of mutant beasts and mutant bugs were all sucked into the huge whirlpool that was Amano's mouth. Many of them were not capable of resisting the suction force and were dragged into his mouth. At that moment, they were then crushed by his sharp teeth. Not good. There's a huge freak slaughtering everybody. Flee. Dozere had also been killed by him. The numerous Type 8 and Type 9 powerhouses could feel the terror of Amano as they fled with their lives. In their bid to escape, they formed a huge beast horde. Want to escape? This is the great god world, not the tentacular planet. Come back and become my food." With a grim laugh, the atmospheric energy consolidated behind him, pushing his strength higher. His whirlpool of a mouth became even stronger as it continued to exert a terrifying suction force, as though capable of swallowing the entire planet. The countless life forms fleeing could not get far before they were all dragged into his mouth. The entire mountain range was consumed by a mono, exhibiting his terrifying might. This was a true god. On Tentacular Planet, the powers of law, Tao, principles, and mostly everything was restricted, thus most of the powerhouses could not utilize their strength. If they were allowed to return to the great god world, if they were to go all out, the devastation was sure to be even more terrifying than a mono. Amano could sense the accumulated strength within him and nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. It's already at 30%. After another 70%, I will have the strength that surpasses true gods. I remember the devil race to be over at this direction. Let's head over then. With a thought, Amano tore through space once more and appeared in a dark and insidious corner of the universe, filled with violent and powerful devil chi. At the moment he appeared, there was a cold voice that rang out. "Who's that? How dare you barge into my 10,000 devil altar? Do you want to be kept here, never to see the sunlight again?" "Ha ha! The presence of so many experts, such delicious food. You are all my Amano's food. Offer your flesh and blood." With a vicious laugh, Amano opened his mouth once more, executing his suction ability, and started to suck in the entire place. There was a loud roar as the planet began to shudder, and the laws broke down, causing many devil cultivators to fly into Amano's mouth before being crushed. The current Devil Lord, sky-suppressing Devil Lord, had a look of shock as he roared out madly. "Activate the final defense!" Within the deepest recess of the planet, there were countless cultivators urging on something with their strength. The devil chi gathered and congealed into a terrifying monstrosity with a pair of huge devil wings. This manifestation slammed viciously into the black hole that was Amano. There was a loud explosion as the black hole collapsed, while Amano himself was sent flying a few hundred meters. All the Type 5 and Type 6 experts within the 10,000 devil altar were also crushed by the recoil. Shit, it's still a little too early. I need to go absorb more lives and strengthen myself. When I reach the true God stage, I will devour this place. Amano was sent flying a few meters, but he was not injured, instead, choosing to leave and find some other prey. Not too long after, Amano appeared in front of a human kingdom as he opened his mouth to suck and chewed numerous humans in his mouth. Chapter 12:14. Zhong steps into the Type 10 realm. Amano swallowed an entire human kingdom and had a dissatisfied expression. Damn it, these humans are too weak. Even after swallowing a few billions, it isn't comparable to a Type 9 expert at all. Seems like I need to consume something stronger. He quickly made the choice and tore through space once more, leaving behind a desolate city without a single corpse. Amano began to massacre countless powerful races, each of their millions and billions of people consumed by him. As the numerous races fell one after another, it caused a huge uproar and fear to spread through the great god world. He did not have a camp, nor did he communicate. He just continued to slaughter city after city, consuming living thing after living thing. Amidst that slaughter, his strength was rising steadily. With such a threat, the countless races of the great god world had no choice but to band together, sending an entire unit of half-step true gods to deal with Amano. However, the entire team was wiped out in a single move, as Amano's strength was already beyond a true god expert. After that battle, all the races were shocked. Amano could be considered an invincible existence, and the only thing they could do was to utilize their secret techniques to seal their positions and hide. Amano was also busy consuming the living things of the great god world and did not bother to chase after those experts. As long as he could become a true god expert, he could easily consume the entire great god world. No matter what corner the other races were hiding at, they would not be able to escape his attention. On the other side, Zhong had entered the cave emitting the green light and continued to descend downwards. The energy surged through him, as though intending to blow him up. "Help! Help me!" The owner of the gold train was already bloated like a huge balloon the moment he entered the cave, as though on the verge of exploding. He began to moan out in pain, pleading with Zhong. Zhong roared out to remind him, "Refine the energy. Channel it into your golden seed." At the same time, Zhong channeled the energy through to his gold battle armor, the radiant battleship, the flame battle blade, as well as the treasures he obtained for the Tower of Babel, like the holy light wings and the golden battle bow. After absorbing that boundless strength, the treasures began to radiate with a dazzling glow, becoming even more resplendent. As Zhong sent the energy out, his body began to feel better. The owner of the gold train was also shocked to see his seed sprout into a gold tree when he channeled the inbound energy into it. When the tree was formed, it began to absorb the green energy, frantically giving the owner some breathing space. Among the few gold-grade treasures in Zhong's hands, the holy light wings, as well as the radiant battleship, had the highest potential for evolution. After absorbing enough energy, they began to evolve once more. When the holy light wings evolved, there was an additional pair of wings that appeared. At the same time, mysterious runes began to shine and engrave onto the wings. As for the radiant battleship, while there were not many changes on the exterior, within, more strange and mystical runes appeared at various corners. When all the gold-grade treasures were done with their evolution, Zhong felt the energy surge through his body again, turning him bloated. "No, if this goes on, my body will not be able to handle this. I'm already at the great circle of the Type 9 realm. I can make use of the energy to charge through the Type 10 stage. Even if I fail, I can wear down the bottleneck greatly." There was a sliver of understanding, and with a thought, he began to direct the flow of the energy towards his gold god-devil nucleus. As the energy poured into his nucleus, they were turned into the gold liquid energy that nourished his indestructible nascent soul, evolving it towards an indestructible god soul. The moment he started condensing his god soul, it felt like he became a black hole, absorbing the boundless green energy into his body. For a short period of time, it felt like the region around him was a vacuum zone. When the owner of the gold train saw this, he quickly charged towards Zhong's side and heaved a sigh of relief. Had the energy continued to surge into him, he would have exploded. The train owner then began to observe Zhong quietly and was shocked. He's charging through the true god realm. What terrifying energy! Is he intending to consume all these energies? Impossible, right? Based on the records of a true god breakthrough, the energy required should only be 10% of what he is currently doing. Breaking through to the true god realm did require a vast amount of energy, but what Zhong was absorbing was easily more than 10 times what the owner of the gold train knew. This was basically due to Zhong's god-devil physique, the most perfect body. Since he had absorbed the life force of the king-class beasts, his body had already evolved, becoming even stronger. Thus, it was much harder for him to break through. With such a body, without the god-devil imprint and his fortuitous encounters, it would be impossible for him to break through, even if he trained for 100 years. The green energy was simply boundless. As long as any tentacular beast dropped in, they would explode. However, Zhong's ability to consume the energy was terrifying as well. There was no sign of him exploding. After they fell through the hole for another 3,000 kilometers, they landed on the ground. Zhong was still absorbing the green energy, metamorphosizing and evolving. After 3 days, a powerful aura emitted out from Zhong as he slowly opened his eyes. 2 godly lights shone. Succeeded? He actually succeeded? The train owner stared with a look of shock. Zhong, you succeeded? In response, he turned to look and laughed incredulously. That's right. Only to discover that the owner was actually a beautiful girl with a whole body covered in green scales, a pair of dragon wings, a long dragon tail. Yet her figure was full and bouncy. Qingya looked at Zhong, her eyes flashing with a hint of fear as she bowed deeply. I'm Qingya of the Green-Toothed Dragon race. I apologize for the offenses I've committed in the Tower of Babel. Sir Zhong, if you want to kill me, please grant me a quick death. Before he had even broken through, Qingya knew she was not his match. Now that he had reached the true God realm, there was no chance at all. Thus, she gave up resisting and was resigned to her fate. Zhong reached his hand. Since we've fought together on this damned planet, just forget about it. However, may I have the gold seed, please? It was a treasure that was hard to come by. Even if Zhong had reached the true God stage, his gold-gray treasures were lacking. He intended to give the seeds to Ji Qing Wu and the rest, hopefully grooming another batch of experts. There was a slight reluctance in Qingya's eyes, but she took it out respectfully, handing the small gold tree to Zhong. Yes. He then kept the tree in his universe ring, before turning around to assess his surroundings. Right now, they were in a huge cave, and there was still the terrifying green energy threatening to surge towards them. However, since reaching the true God realm, Zhong's body was no longer the same, reaching even greater heights, and was absorbing the energy entirely. He had the ability to fly out of the hole now, and nothing would be able to stop him. However, he was extremely curious about the green energy as he headed deeper within. After following the hole for a few thousand lis, he finally came to a huge, empty field. At the center, there was a mysterious altar, and surrounding were 9 by 9, 81 powerful eggs. There was a gigantic green stone floating over the altar. It was radiating with that unknown and vast power. Zhong looked at the stone and had a look of delight. He flashed forwards and grabbed out at it. This is the greatest treasure beneath the ground. With this, my cultivation will soar by leaps and bounds. I can break through and control my own destiny. Chapter 12:15, Killing a True Dragon. Chapter 10:23, Killing a True Dragon. Kuan, the Alliance. When the green stone was grabbed in Zhong's hands, an incomparably thick energy gushed into his body. Even with his physique, he felt like his body was stretched to the limit. With a thought, he quickly sent it into his universe ring. Once it was sent in, the energy emitted by the stone began to waft, radiate through the ring. It could not dissipate. Instead, the energy began to condense into beads of elemental energy, scattering throughout the ring. The moment the green stone was grabbed by Zhong, the 81 eggs that were full of life energy began to lose their vitality. At the same time, the universe tree seemed to have lost its source of strength and started to wither. Amidst the horde of tentacular beasts, the remaining 8 king-class beasts, as well as the 2 queen-class beasts, let out shrieks before scrambling towards the cave that Zhong was in. The universe tree was not only an energy source for the Fort of Hope, but also an irreplaceable energy for the tentacular beasts. Once it withered, the reproduction capabilities of the tentacular beasts would be affected, and with every additional death meant one less beast. To the tentacular beasts, it was a terrible disaster. The beasts would establish nests around the tree in order to absorb huge amounts of energies, eroding the source to the Fort of Hope, but not extinguishing the tree itself. Inside the cave, one of the eggs suddenly trembled and cracked open. Out crawled a true dragon-like creature, similar to those of Chinese mythology. This life form exuded a strong, violent aura as it swept Zhong a vicious glare and opened its mouth to absorb the rest of the eggs. The eggs began to soar towards the true dragon-like creature. Since reaching the true God stage, Zhong had the indestructible God soul, and his perception was much stronger than when he was at the half-step true God stage. He could perceive all sorts of killing intent. He could sense the ill intentions of the creature, and with a frown, he immediately sent a palm in a bid to crush the creature. In a flash, a golden hand formed out of the energy around, pressing down on the creature. The true dragon creature had a vicious glint in its eyes as it let out a roar of rage. A powerful energy fluctuation that could rival that of a true god was emitted out of it, and a true dragon claw materialized, clashing against Yu Zhong's palm. With the assault of the draconic laws and principles, everything around the creature seemed to transform, becoming small dragons that pounced towards Yu Zhong. Qing could sense the dangerous and threatening fluctuations, and her eyes were filled with shock. True, god-level beast. It is a true dragon. Dragons and phoenixes had faded from the worlds outside. Being mystical, divine beasts, after they reached maturity, they would possess true god strength. Among powerhouses of the same realm, they were terrifying. When the true dragon claw met the golden palm of Yu Zhong, the dragon claw immediately crumbled, and the true dragon was also separated into two, fresh blood pouring out of its body. How is that possible? That's a true dragon. How could it be that weak? Qing stared at Yu Zhong and the defeated dragon, her eyes filled with shock. Is that to say, he has already evolved to a realm far more terrifying than a true god? That's true dragon blood, a rare treasure that cannot be found outside. Qing W and the rest are in luck. Yu Zhong laughed lightly as he looked at the dead dragon, grabbing it. A huge amount of blood flowed out, separated into various glass vials controlled by Yu Zhong's will. True dragon blood was useless to Yu Zhong. However, to the people he cared about, it was an incredible treasure. A single drop could change their entire physique and boost their potential. The young dragon opened its eyes and roared out in rage. Let me go. Lowly human, you dare act against me, courting death. My parents are characters you cannot afford to offend. If you kill me, they will not let you off. Fool, you want to lie to me? If your parents really look upon you favorably, they would not have kept you here and become nourishment for the universe crystal. I don't have time to bicker with you. Go and die. Yu Zhong laughed coldly, pointing out with a finger as the fresh blood of the true dragon flowed out, entering into the various vials. At the same time, a powerful flame appeared, incinerating the body of the true dragon. In a few breaths, there was nothing left. Right as the true dragon was being incinerated, its indestructible dragon soul soared out, trying to escape. As long as a single strand could make a way, it could return to being a true dragon in the future. However, the moment the soul shuddered, the powerful golden god-devil flame burnt brightly, enveloping it, and began to burn away at the soul. The soul struggled as it pleaded, "Ah, please, let me go. Human, I'm pleading you. Let me off." It's too late. Yu Zhong's eyes flashed coldly, and his hands crushed down. The god-devil flames radiated brightly, incinerating the indestructible soul to nothing. As the soul was eradicated, the soul force was absorbed into Yu Zhong's flame, causing it to become even more radiant. At the same time, the life force entered his own body. When Qing saw how easily Yu Zhong dealt with the indestructible soul, her heart was filled with shock. He could actually kill a true dragon just like that. That's too terrifying. After killing the true dragon, Yu Zhong waved his hands and immediately kept the 80 remaining eggs that had lost all signs of vitality into his universe ring. These were all true dragon eggs and were mythical level creatures. Even if they had lost their life force, they were still rare treasures. After Yu Zhong kept the 80 eggs, the two tentacular king-class beasts came shooting in, waving their blades as they slashed out at Yu Zhong. Eyeing the two king-class beasts, Yu Zhong tapped his feet, and he appeared on top of one of them, his fist blasting out at its head. With a loud blast, the king-class beast was instantly obliterated, its body splattering apart in a mess of blood and flesh, as its life force entered Yu Zhong's body. After that, Yu Zhong stepped through the air, looking like an unstoppable war god, and with a finger, the god-devil flames burst out, blasting onto the remaining king-class beast. The beast then turned to ashes within a short 2 seconds. That That was a king-class beast. That's too terrifying. After reaching the true God realm, he is actually this strong. He's even above Qi Yang and the rest. An oracle is truly something else. Qinya watched on silently, knowing that she could not participate. It did not matter if it was Yu Zhong or the king-class beast. Either of them could kill her with a single move. There are 8 more left. After dealing with 2 king-class beasts, Yu Zhong charged outside, sensing the incoming tentacular king-class beast from the other nests. In a few breaths, he had appeared in front of the 6 of them. There was a savage glint in the eyes of the 6 king-class beasts. They roared out loud and pounced towards Yu Zhong at lightning speed. Yu Zhong pointed out, and his god-devil flame burst forth, enveloping the 6 king-class beasts, swallowing them. The king-class beasts could absorb energy, Daos, spatial laws, but they were unable to absorb the god-devil flames that Yu Zhong produced. In 2 seconds, the 6 king-class beasts turned into ashes amidst their struggling. Their pure and abundant life force surged through Yu Zhong's body, allowing him to comprehend the numerous miraculous abilities of the king-class beasts. There are still 2 more. After he was done, he shot through towards the other nests, locking on to the 2 queen-class beasts. There were countless tentacular beasts inside the nest, and they poured towards Yu Zhong like a wave. They were not afraid of death, and their numbers could easily overwhelm a Type 10 powerhouse. Yu Zhong was wrapped in a layer of god-devil flames, burning the region of 30 m around him as he blocked the oncoming attacks and incinerated them all. Chapter 12:16. The Owner of the God-Devil System. Chapter 12:16. The Owner of the God-Devil System. Kun, the Alliance. Yu Zhong continued to dash about, as though the god of fire had descended upon the world, and everywhere he touched would be set ablaze. Only ashes remained behind him as he quickly soared out the nest of the queen-class beast. When he exited, all he saw around him was the dense horde of tentacular beasts. Based on what he estimated, it was easily over 1 billion, and it was not something even a mono at his peak would have dared to take on. The beasts all sensed the arrival of Yu Zhong and opened their mandibles, and over 1 billion blue beams fired at it. Facing that, Yu Zhong transformed into a gold beam of light, braving the attacks, and soared towards another nest. In a few breaths, Yu Zhong arrived at the deep part of the nest, blasting the queen-class beast into a few pieces with a single slap. After that, he quickly exited and made his way towards the remaining queen-class beast, also turning it into minced meat with a single slap, absorbing the life force. So it was like this. There's still potential for evolution between the tentacular beasts and god-devil physique. With the life force from those beasts, my strength can improve once again. When he finished absorbing the life force of the last queen-class beast, he had a flash of inspiration, understanding that the life force he had absorbed from the powerful tentacular beast had surged into the various corners of his physique, turning it even more perfect. At this time, there was a gold beam that descended upon the ground, forming the figure of Light. Light giggled and asked, "Congratulations, Yu Zhong, on killing all the king-class and queen-class beasts, as well as pushing your physique to the most perfect state. Now, you have the qualifications to meet my master. Do you want to do so?" Yu Zhong pondered and spoke, "Yes." Light waved her hands in response, and a beam of gold light shone upon Yu Zhong, causing him to disappear. In an instant, he had appeared in a strange world that looked like it was composed out of countless cosmic stars, with views into the various galaxies and universes. Yu Zhong took in the sights with a chill down his back. Strong. This god-devil system is too frightening. It could transfer me before I even know it, and its strength is truly far above mine. Currently, he was already a true god expert. It would be difficult to kill him. However, if the system decided to send him to far ends of the galaxies, it would take him goodness knew how long to reach Earth. It was also not impossible for him to be lost for more than hundreds and thousands of years. "Yu Zhong, didn't you want to meet me? Come on up." Right at this moment, There was the voice that he could not forget since the first day when it all happened, as a golden staircase materialized in front of him. He looked at the stairs, his scalp turning slightly numb, and he did not hesitate to walk up. Following the staircase, he found himself in a palace that was made entirely out of red crystals, and he saw something that shook him to his very core. In the numerous clear crystal pillars laid throughout the palace, there were true dragons, cheilants, phoenixes, as well as other mythical life forms. Each of them, if allowed to mature, would become true god-level experts. At the center of the palace, there was a floating head of a handsome man with purple hair. The right eye was pierced with 3 black needles, as a black spear was pierced through the mouth, nailing the head to the throne. The AI of the god-devil system, Light, stood quietly, watching the head smile at Zhong. The head used its remaining eye to stare at Zhong, his expression one of appreciation. Even though his mouth did not move, a voice rang out in his head. "Hi, Zhong, it's the first time we meet. I'm Red Crystal King, the one who had toyed with your life, caused the changes on Earth, throwing the lives of over 6 billion humans on Earth into hell." Zhong frowned, asking slowly, "Red Crystal King, why did you do that?" The answer caused Zhong to be bewildered. It's simple. It was all in order to create the strongest weapon that can kill me, as well as my enemy. Red Crystal King stared at Zhong, his single eye filled with a heated look. "Zhong, you are the strongest and most perfect weapon that I've created. You possess the potential to kill me, as well as my enemy. I am a master of the Izuma universe. Earth, the great god world, as well as the other 800 worlds of the god-devil system, are all under the Izuma universe, thus my own property. However, compared to the universe itself, this place is a barren one, and no one knows of the wormhole coordinates of this location. It could be considered a hidden and rural corner of the galaxy. A long time ago, I was backstabbed by a despicable person, causing my state to be as you see. I made use of the god-devil system to flee here. However, my body has been destroyed by that despicable person, and my soul had already been largely destroyed by him. My head is nailed to the throne by the spear of destruction. Every day, I'm condemned to suffer pain on a scale you can't possibly imagine. I've had enough of this endless torment. I want someone to kill me and seek revenge for me. Thus, I made use of the god-devil system to spur the evolution of the human race in all 800 worlds, forcing you guys. Through the ages, I've experimented and failed, watching the chosen warriors of mine die to the various powerful monsters and existences of the universe. It has caused me disappointment and despair time after time. However, you, Zhong, have passed all my tests and reached the perfect Type 10 realm. Your potential and talent are boundless. Once you gain control of my strongest item, the god-devil system, you will be able to kill me and gain the power to deal with my hated enemy. Come on, Zhong, as long as you're willing to kill me and promise to seek revenge for me, I will hand the god-devil system to you and allow you to become the master of the great god world, as well as the 800 worlds with unbelievable authority and strength. The system gives you control over time and creation, and even in the multiple universes, is an incredibly rare and precious treasure. I've never seen something else like it in all my years. Once you have obtained it, you'll become a powerful existence. Red Crystal King stared at Zhong with a heated gaze, every word he spoke filled with fervor. Zhong's heart leaped slightly, but he still asked in wariness, "Who is your enemy? How strong is he exactly?" The Red Crystal King was only left with a head and covered with injuries. Even when nailed to the throne, Zhong still felt like that was an immense pressure and danger emitting from this figure in front of him. It was as though he was not weaker than Zhong at all. How strong would the enemy of such a powerhouse be? Red Crystal King spoke solemnly. "My enemy is called the Serene Sea King, a powerful existence of the Serene Sea in the galaxy. That year, when he attacked me by surprise, he was a peak Type 12 Galaxy Lord-level powerhouse. His talent, coupled with the vast amount of resources in the Izuma universe, with the countless years of cultivation, he should have reached the Type 13 universe Lord stage. He continued, in the universe, a Type 10 powerhouse is termed as a Star-Lord expert. A Type 10 powerhouse would be able to reign over a rich planet. A Type 11 powerhouse would be called a Great Star-Lord expert, controlling 10 rich planets. A Type 12 powerhouse is termed as a Galaxy Lord and can control an entire galaxy. A Type 13 powerhouse would be a Universe Lord, controlling a universe. Initially, I was the owner of the Izuma universe, a peak Type 13 powerhouse. Red Crystal King then said, with your current strength, it is enough to contend with a Type 11 Star-Lord expert. If you gain my God Devil system, even if a Type 12 Great Star-Lord were to attack you, you can still escape. As long as you are given enough time to evolve, you can definitely kill the Serene Sea King. How about it? It should be considered a decent deal, right? Zhong pondered, before replying solemnly, fine. I promise you. There was a passionate look in the eyes of the Red Crystal King. Very good. Let's swear a heavenly oath. As long as we do it, the God Devil system is yours. Light waved her hands, and a golden sacred light entered Zhong's consciousness, turning into mysterious runes. On them, there was the closure of the deal between the Red Crystal King and Zhong. If Zhong were to go against his oath and disregard the issue about the revenge, the God Devil system would leave Zhong, finding a new master. At the same time, there were other enemies of the Red Crystal King, but the Serene Sea King was the one that had to be killed. The rest of them could be ignored by Zhong, but the Serene Sea King could not be let off. Zhong saw that there were no problems with the oath, and after checking through, imprinting them on his mind. The moment the runes were formed, the AI light flew towards Zhong, swiftly forming an unassuming black battle blade. Chapter 12:17 Omnipotent, Omniscient, Omnipresent Finale. Chapter 10:25 Omnipotent, Omniscient, Omnipresent Finale. When the black battle blade flew towards Zhong, a huge amount of information poured into his consciousness. Everything happening in the great God world, Earth, as well as the other 800 worlds, could be sensed by him with a single thought. Zhong tried out by willing something, and on a barren planet, with no signs of life whatsoever, a golden, sacred beam of light shot down, shining on the planet. Soon, the icy cold planet began to brim with life, and a sun appeared in the atmosphere of the planet, shining on the planet. Clouds began to form, while lightning and thunder occurred, and rain fell upon the planet. Water bodies began to form in the huge craters and started to appear similar to the oceans on Earth. Then, some single-cell organisms began to appear within the ocean as they evolved into plankton-like creatures, which did not stop evolving into marine life. As the entire planet continued to evolve, becoming a planet capable of sustaining life, many biological life forms appeared and continued to evolve as well. At the same time, according to Zhong's will, the main inhabitants of the planet began to evolve a pair of white wings, as well as a white radiance over their heads, and all of them were female. It was like an entire race of angels. Amazing. So this is the power of creation. With this God-Devil system, I'm an omnipotent existence within the 800 worlds. Zhong watched the planet evolve, his heart filled with excitement. He was now like the God of the Bible, able to create anything that the system had a blueprint or knowledge of. At the same time, he could easily annihilate anything within the 800 worlds as well. As he swept out with his will, he could sense that the energy consumption was high. It's too much energy. The Red Crystal King spoke. Creation, time control, and hastening evolution of any life form all require loads of power. The mutant beast's nuclei, as well as those from the tentacular beasts, are all good energy sources. Other than them, there are other efficient energy sources out there in the universes. However, Mutant beast nuclei and tentacular beasts are still among the top few sources. One can also use nuclei as a universal currency. He then turned to Zhong with a look of relief. Now, please kill me. After being reduced to a mere head and nailed to the red crystal throne for countless millennia, the Red Crystal King had enough. He just wanted to be released from his misery. Fine. Zhong took up the black battle blade, his gaze turning cold, as he urged his cells once more, pushing his strength to jump over 48 times. He then slashed down at the head of the Red Crystal King. Dang! When his blade landed on the head of the Red Crystal King, it caused a deafening blast, and the decapitated head seemed to have blocked the attack. Time stopped for a mere second, before the black battle blade from the system burst out with a terrifying radiance, slicing through the Red Crystal King, together with the broken soul. The moment the head of the Red Crystal King was destroyed, the long spear and nails stuck in him turned into ash and disappeared. Once he was killed, a pure and abundant life force entered Zhong's body, nourishing and pushing him to the next stage of evolution. After killing the Red Crystal King, Zhong willed it and immediately received the information on Tentacular planet. Making use of the God Devil system, he could check the entirety of a planet, and during his search, he came across an interesting thing. That is Amano. Interesting, his strength had actually reached the true God stage. But in order not to be teleported to the Tentacular planet, he actually suppressed his own cultivation. Zhong laughed lightly, and with a thought, he disappeared from his original location. In the great God world, there was a secret corner where the three main races were all gathered together. The 10,000 Devils Altar, the Man-Eater Temple, and the holy heavens had all disregarded their enmity to face the greatest threat to their existence. The planet of the 10,000 Devils Altar had transformed into a huge giant, exuding a terrifying and baleful aura, its demonic wings flapping behind. The Man-Eater's temple had also transformed into a giant with a single horn and possessed long canines and sharp claws. The great God world had transformed into a silver battleship. With these three immensely powerful existences, they were the last resorts of the three major races. Forming them required the combination of all the elite powerhouses of their respective races. The combat strength was incredibly high, and within a short time, they were capable of displaying the strength of a true God warrior. However, such a method required an incredible amount of resources. With the accumulation of their resources, it would still eat into their reserves. Once this strength was utilized for more than 4 hours, their accumulated resources would be gone in an instant. In the void, Amano had transformed into a huge black hole, exerting his suction force at a rapid speed. It was a powerful whirlpool, firmly grabbing hold of the two giants as well as the battleship. The two giants and the battleship struggled frantically to pry themselves away from the whirlpool. However, regardless of how they struggled, they could not get away. In the holy heavens, the remaining heavenly Lord Zhuo stared at the whirlpool, his eyes filled with shock. Damn it! This Amano is too ferocious. What the hell is he? How could he possess such strength? He could actually take on the final trump cards of all three of us. Is he at the true God stage? Only a true God would be able to utilize his own strength to move an entire planet, going against the three races, while the rest could only watch helplessly. Currently, in the great God world, all the experts were standing at their assigned places, continually channeling their strength into vital points. From time to time, there would be Type 5 powerhouses who were absorbed clean of their strength and turned to dust. Near one particular point, a dozen young men and women stood close by, sending their strength frantically into the point. No! One of the young women suddenly turned pale and let out a scream of despair as she withered and turned into ashes. Seeing this, the rest of the young men and women had changes in expressions, their eyes filled with shock. Among them, Basia was pale as she turned to George and asked, "Father, are we going to die?" All the human experts have been gathered back within the holy heavens, including George and his family. George's face turned pale and tried to assure, "No, we will definitely emerge victorious. We still have Sir Zhujian, and he will lead us to victory." Lena's face was pale as she screamed out, "No, it's hopeless. I know that monster. I've seen it in an ancient text. That is the first true God expert of ancient times. After he is resurrected, no one is his match. We will all become his food. It's all over for us." She had always known this fact, which was pressuring her. Now, she could not help but spit it out. "What? The ancient first true God expert? We're finished. Such an existence, as long as he is not exterminated properly, even with a sliver of his soul left, he could resurrect and quickly rise to the true God level once more. We're dead." At first, everyone had guessed that things were not looking good. However, hearing the truth, their eyes were filled with despair. However, they did not dare relax, as the moment they did so, they would be sucked into the vortex, swallowed by Amano. Right at that time, there was a tear in space, and Zhong walked out directly. Seeing Zhong appear, Amano's heart turned cold as he retracted his whirlpool and asked Zhong warily, "I am Amano. May I ask, who are you, friend?" As the first true God expert since ancient times, Amano possessed a terrifying perception and could sense a threatening level of danger emitting from Zhong. Within the holy heavens, George looked up and was taken aback. "That's Zhong." Basia had an excited look in her eyes as she cheered. "It's true. That is Big Brother Zhong. He's back from the Tower of Babel. We're saved." Lena eyed Zhong, her eyes full of shock before turning into excitement. Tears started to flow as she muttered, "It's Zhong. He's Zhong. He's back from the Tower of Babel. We're saved." Jody heaved a sigh of relief as he smiled. "He's back. That's great." All the displays of the holy heavens had been ignited, broadcasting Zhong's image for everyone to see. "What's going on?" Zhujian could sense the displays of the holy heavens lighting up. He frowned. After all, he did not give the order to broadcast any images of the battle in the void. Zhong spoke coldly. "I'm Zhong. Amano, try throwing me your strongest attack. I know you're already at the true God level. If you can't kill me, just die." "What an arrogant tone. I'll let you witness it then. Even if I have to be summoned to Tentacular planet, I will kill you." Amano raged and tore open his seal as a terrifying true God fluctuation emitted out. It was vast and caused everyone else to feel a deep sense of terror. So strong. True God. He's really at the true God realm. What a terrifying fellow. Amano's strength shocked the three great races, forcing those of the Type 6 realm and below to their knees. Their faces were pale, and it was hard to even breathe. For them, it was easy for a true God powerhouse to kill them with a single thought. There was nothing they could do. Boundless might poured out from Amano's body as he began to transform into a golden giant of over hundreds of meters in height, his body covered in golden bone blades. In an instant, Amano had slashed out with over 1,000,000 strikes, completely covering the sky, attacking Zhong in a frenzy. Without any sound, a golden silhouette appeared behind Zhong, as two bone blades came slashing down imbued with the laws of blade and slash. The figure was as fast as light. By the time the three peak experts had realized it, he had already appeared behind Zhong, about to slash through him. With just this capabilities? Truly disappointing. The first true God expert of ancient times, just barely SOSO. As the bone blades were about to slash through Zhong pointed out with a finger on the forehead of Amano. There was a loud blast as Amano began to crumble apart. "No, impossible. I'm the strongest. How can I be killed by you? I'm unwilling." The remnant soul of Amano screamed out in reluctance before dissipating forever from the world. Zhujian saw how Zhong took out the strongest being Amano with a single finger, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. What? Amano was killed, just like that. How is that possible? How could he be so strong? How? Dead. The first true god expert was killed. Unbelievable. Strong. Yu Zhong is too strong. Seeing Yu Zhong floating in midair, everyone in the holy heavens was filled with reverence, and worship. Many female elites were also smitten. Basia was no exception, her eyes sparkling. Amazing. Big brother Yu Zhong, you're too cool. George was filled with excitement. Strong. Thankfully, I became friends with him. The man-eater races shall no longer exist. Die. Yu Zhong stood there, coldly eyeing the man-eater race, before pointing down. In an instant, a huge finger congealed out of nothing, pressed down towards the giant formed as a last resort of the man-eater race. The single-horned giant of the man-eater race roared out in anger, punching out with towards the finger. Unfortunately, the finger of Yu Zhong was enough to crush the entire giant, causing the entire planet to implode on itself, dissipating into nothing. Just like this, one of the 4 great races of the great god world was wiped away by Yu Zhong. Great! Awesome! Long live Yu Zhong! Sir Yu Zhong, you're too amazing! Seeing the man-eater race wiped out by Yu Zhong, cheers erupted throughout the holy heavens. The man-eaters preyed on humans after all, and many humans had fallen to them. With this great enemy wiped out, the elites of the holy heavens were filled with respect and admiration for Yu Zhong. After that, Yu Zhong turned to face the 10,000 devils altar, his voice cold. Other than the charming devil race, the flower devil race, etc., the rest is to be wiped out. With those words, the various experts of the devil race, regardless of whatever corner they were hiding in, all exploded into bits. In an instant, 90% of the devils had died. Yu Zhong controlled the god-devil system now, and all the life forms within the 800 worlds all fell under his control. Only those outside the 800 worlds were outside of the scope of the god-devil system's powers. The remaining devils were all extremely beautiful and had charms. However, their combat abilities were not particularly high. Furthermore, they were not aggressive, and Yu Zhong could utilize them as wallflowers or maidservants. Yu Zhong then looked down at them, asking sternly, "Do you agree to submit to me and address me as your lord?" "Yes, we're willing. We'll serve you wholeheartedly and be your loyal servants forever." The surviving devils all kneeled, their bodies trembling as they swore to Yu Zhong. They were helpless against his omnipotence. Yu Zhong then swiftly announced, "Very good, Kai Yin, Yu Hua, Ming Xiang, and Luo Hua. The 4 of you shall be the new 4 great devil lords of the 10,000 devils altar, in charge of managing it for me." The 4 of them were the most adept and most experienced at managing the rest of the devils, and could quickly organize them and resettle the devils after the turmoil. When the 4 of them heard it, they replied respectfully, "Yes, Master." Having killed Amano and settling the remaining devils, Yu Zhong disappeared from his location. The next moment, he appeared back on Earth. Due to the gates of hell being closed, Earth was currently in a chaotic mess, with numerous races fighting over the right to rule. At the same time, the number of aliens hidden had proliferated to a terrifying degree, and the entire planet had traces of them. Currently, there were many aliens gathered outside of China's capital, intending to launch a crazy assault. Numerous mechs and mech beasts were on the front lines clashing with the oncoming aliens. All sorts of mechanical parts and the corrosive blood of the aliens splattered everywhere throughout the battlefield. Troops were being decimated at every second. As for the humans, other than a few top elites, most of them could not even help. Through this period, the aliens had already produced over a dozen Type 8 powerhouses. There were even 10 half-step Type 9 aliens, leading the armies to attack the defenses of the capital, forcing them back. Even with Mech Emperor Zhu Yuan Ting commanding the forces, there was no way of beating the aliens back. Within the command center of the capital, Ji Qingwu, Chun Yao, and the rest of the upper echelon were watching in rising apprehension. Although there was Zhu Yuan Ting holding the fort, and could maintain the security for a short while. If this continued on, the whole of China would fall sooner or later. Ji Qingwu watched the endless horde and thought to herself amidst the anxiety, if only he was here. Were you thinking of me? Just then, a voice rang out in the room, and everyone swiveled to find Yu Zhong behind them. Yu Zhong, big brother, leader, Sir Yu Zhong. Everyone erupted in cheers. Yu Zhong was an invincible existence in their hearts. Ji Qingwu came up to him and asked in worry, Yu Zhong, when you were not around, the evolution of the aliens were too fast. Right now, the entire Earth is covered with those aliens. What do we do? On Earth, the greatest threat to humanity was not the experts of the other races, but the aliens. Their reproduction speed was too terrifying. As long as they were hidden in some corner for a period of time, they would re-emerge with insane numbers. Furthermore, if one was not careful, there could be infections of humans, becoming hosts and food for the aliens. It's simple, we'll just wipe them all out. Yu Zhong laughed simply and spoke, I hereby declare that all the aliens are to be wiped out from Earth. The moment those words fell, the billions of aliens rampaging throughout Earth exploded, not leaving even a single cell behind. Seeing that, everyone was stunned. From today onwards, we have no need to fear any strange creatures or monsters anymore. Yu Zhong laughed and embraced Ji Qingwu, Floxenia, and the various women that came jumping into his arms. 2 years later, on the beaches of Hawaii, Tong Xiaoyun, Chun Yao, Shui Tong, Yin Shuang, Han Xiong were all playing around in bikinis. Yu Zhong laid on the sand, while Basia was kneeling beside him and massaging his legs, while Lena helped to peel grapes for him. Ji Qingwu was also dressed in a black bikini, laying on the sand while donning a pair of sunglasses. Numerous beauties of the devil's race, the angel's race, the flower devil's race, etc. were gathered around, acting as maids to them. It was practically a heavenly scene. All of a sudden, Yu Zhong spoke, Qingwu, I'm intending to head to Azoma Universe. There was a strange glint in her eyes as she asked in a low voice, when, in 3 days' time, she stood up, coming up to his side, and buried herself in his embrace, planting a deep kiss on his lips. All right, come back soon. Remember, we are all waiting for you on Earth. Got it. 3 days later, Yu Zhong brought the God-Devil system with him as he stepped out of Earth, beginning a new adventure. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.